did. I kicked myself out real quick before I went live. As you can tell, I was in a little bit of a rush, but I was making my coffee right before the stream. But stand up, New York Giants fans. I'm still pumped up about the win yesterday. I know a lot of you guys think about draft position. I know a lot of you guys think about that it's a meaningless win, that it's, that we're 4-7 and the team's not going anywhere fast. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. It's the first time the New York Giants have beaten the Philadelphia Eagles 2 times in a row since 2007. Think about that. 14 years was the last time the New York Giants beat the Philadelphia Eagles 2 times in a row. And if the Giants are able to sweep the Eagles this year, it'll be the first time since 2007 as well. So if there's one thing that Joe Judge has done right since he's gotten here, he's won games from within the division. Now, you could certainly argue last year that the New York Giants benefited due to the fact that there were a lot of injuries at the quarterback position. Dak Prescott was out, so on and so forth. But the bottom line is this team didn't win any games in the division over the last 6, 7, 8 years. That is something that the Giants have done a much better job at over the last 2 years. Of course, they're still only 1-2 this year. We've still got 3 divisional games coming up against Washington, Dallas, and the Eagles. We're going to face each one of those teams one more time, and we'll see how the New York Giants handle it. Haven't beaten Dak since 2016, so it would be nice to beat him. Of course, last year he was out due to the injury, but I'm still jacked up about the win yesterday. I think you as fans should be happy as well. Were there things that are absolutely horrific? Yes. The New York Giants defense against the run was putrid, right? I mean, the read option by Jalen Hurts was killing us the entire game. He was shredding us from start to finish. Miles Sanders averaged over 7 yards a carry. Boston Scott, who I posted on Twitter while I was at the game, Boston Scott splits when he plays the Giants. I think he's got 7 of his 11 career touchdowns are against the Giants. So he tore us up. And the run defense has definitely been a problem. We're going to be going up against the Miami Dolphins this week, who have suddenly won 4 in a row. Now, are those 4 wins super convincing for me? No, they beat the Baltimore Ravens. That was an impressive win. They also beat the Houston Texans. They beat the New York Jets. And yesterday, they destroyed the Carolina Panthers, the same team that we destroyed. So am I scared of the Dolphins? No. Do I respect them as an opponent? Yeah. But do I think we could beat them? Why not? Why can't Patrick Graham drive up a good game plan to be able to force some turnovers against Tua Tagovailoa? Because if the New York Giants are able to do that, I believe full well that we have a good chance to beat the Miami Dolphins. The New York Giants have created 19 turnovers now this year. Last year, they created 22 for the entire season. You're really starting to see this defense turn it up. And if we beat the Dolphins, well, then some of you optimistic fans will get to at least dream about playing some competitive football down the stretch. But I don't even start to think about that until we beat the Dolphins. And, of course, you got the Chargers on deck. But I am so pumped up to get that win against the Philadelphia Eagles and put them in a really bad spot in terms of the playoff contention. So big win yesterday for the New York Giants. Let's say hello to some people in the chat. What's going on there, Milkman? What's going on there, Tom Swain? What's going on there, Family with Mike? Eric Hadley in the chat. Raphael doing it in the chat, man. Thanks for popping in. And I completely agree. By the way, I think a fan with a mic said it. I completely agree about what you said about yesterday. It was great for Joe Judge. I agree with you. Sway, man, what's going on, man? What's going on there? Brownie, man, what's going on there? Bob Wells. Michael in the chat, man. Unknown in the chat. Brandon in the chat. Droid in the chat. BX in the chat. Shane in the chat. By the way, anybody that may be listening that was at the tailgate yesterday had an absolute blast getting to meet you guys. Obviously, I was there with Bobby and Justin as well. Met a couple of other content creators as well. It was so much fun, and looking forward to doing that in the future as well. I wanted to make sure I said that. NY Giants 26 says, is Mckinney a top 10 safety this year? I mean, I'd have to look over the league. I mean, this week he had a 92 PFF grade. Xavier McKinney is definitely coming into his own. I think he's got, 5 picks now on the year. He's had 2 games where he's had 2 picks, and he's a ball hawk. I mean, you see, I saw it from where I was sitting during the game. Now, don't get it twisted. Jalen Hurts is complete and utter trash, so I don't even know if we should count the Xavier McKinney interception. All I've heard from people the last 3-4 weeks, Jalen Hurts is good. Jalen Hurts is good. Jalen Hurts sucks. I don't need to look at stats. I have eyeballs. The guy can't throw. And you saw it yesterday with the New York Giants defense. They completely picked on him the entire game. The guy's a horrible, horrible quarterback. The worst thrower of the football in the NFL. I'm not scared to say it. And as, in terms of him being a top 10 safety, I would probably be on board with you on that. I mean, again, I'd have to look over the league, but he's certainly quickly becoming one of the best players on our defense. I'll tell you that right now, and has been one of the silver linings of this team this year. He's definitely grown up and become a much better player. True Rapless, man. Thank you very much, man. And we're going to talk about Max Scherzer, man. Believe me. Good for fantasy. I think you hit it on the head, Jared. I said in my post-game video, you know who else was good for fantasy? I remember him in his rookie year. Tim Tebow was good for fantasy. Tim Tebow couldn't throw, but he would run. He would get running yards. He would get running touchdowns. He's just like Tim Tebow. True Apple says things are open for the Giants playoffs. We handled Philly. The Washington football team sucks. Saints starting Taysom Hill. C-Mac out. Falcons suck. Dalvin Cook out. Not saying anything, but one game at a time. True Rapplist. And you know I'm a guy that's optimistic and tries to think that some good things may happen. We got a long way to go before I even start to think about the playoffs. But you're lying to yourself if you think there's no chance. We're one game out. I mean, granted, there's a ton of teams that are bunched together, but we're one game out, and we got 6 games to play. And you look at our remaining schedule. Look at the quarterbacks we're going up against. Of course, Justin Herbert's very good, but the Chargers haven't been nearly as good as a lot of people thought they would be. And of course, Dak Prescott's very good. The Cowboys seem to be coming back to the pack a little bit. Again, I'm not picking us to beat the Cowboys, but outside of that, who's the quarterbacks that we face? Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Fields. Do those guys scare you? Jalen Hurts. Whoever's Washington is going to start, do they scare you? So do I think it's crazy to think if you're a Giants fan that we can win 4 to the last 6? No. Whether or not 4 to the last 6 is going to get you into the playoffs, that's another topic of conversation. But offense obviously still has a lot to improve on. That was lackluster yesterday, and hopefully another week with Freddie Kitchens, the offense starts to turn it up a bit. But one thing I could say for sure, this defense is legit. This defense is what I thought they would be at the beginning of the year. And yes, did Tom Brady carve us up? Absolutely. But Tom Brady's going to carve up most defenses, especially a defense like the Giants, who can't really generate pressure without sending the blitz. But outside of that, this Giants defense, since like week 4, has been really good this year. And I think they're definitely coming into their own. And I expect them to pick on Tua Tagovailoa next week. I don't see any reason why I shouldn't feel that way. So I think we can win at least 3 or 4 of these remaining games, and we'll see where it takes us, man. But it's one game at a time, man. We got to beat the Dolphins first before I start to even think about that. Let's see what we got. Yuri says, this is a battle of the Belichick tree. This is basically the Spider-Man meme. Bad offensive line, quarterbacks are decent. Yeah, I think this upcoming game, the biggest storyline for me, and I said it before the year started when I did the schedule breakdown, the biggest storyline for me is Flores, obviously, versus Judge. The 2 Belichick head coaches, obviously both very familiar with one another, are a lot of the members of our coaching staff came from the Dolphins, with Shaplinsky and Patrick Graham obviously went over there when Flores took the job. So there's definitely some familiarity there. And I think you got 2 teams that are kind of both playing a lot better than they did at the beginning of the year, but they're still completely unproven. Dolphins have won 4 straight, but it's been against some weak competition. Outside of, like I said, the Baltimore Ravens, Giants have beat up on some pretty mediocre teams. They haven't beat up on horrible teams, but, they beat the Saints, who were pretty good. That was on the road. Obviously, we beat, we've beaten a lot of mediocre teams. We haven't beaten anybody of, Carolina we beat, who they beat as well. We share a win there. We beat the Eagles. So we've beaten some okay teams. I think both teams outside of the Baltimore win have beaten okay teams, and they both desperately need this win. But I think the familiarity with the coaching staffs is definitely the biggest storyline for me in this game. And the one thing I'll say, man, I don't know about Daniel Jones. We'll see about the offense, but the defense, I have a lot of confidence in going into this week against the Miami Dolphins. I know they put up 33 points this past week. Tua doesn't scare me. I know he's been playing better. He doesn't scare me. I think the New York Giants will carve up a good game plan. And I think we're going to create some turnovers. And that's what I thought we'd be at the beginning of the year. And that's what you've seen over the last 6 or 7 weeks. That's what we've been as a defense. And I don't think that's going to stop against Miami. But thank you, man. John says, for all the Mckinney haters who doubted him, how you like him now? Great defensive effort yesterday. Hope our offense looks better with KT and Shep back. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a part of it as well, John, right? We were missing our second and third best weapons. And I'm not going to go crazy. I know, like, the fans that want – no, I don't want to say want, but the fans that are, like, completely sold that this offense is complete trash, understandably so, are going to just jump on Kitchens after one game. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give Kitchens more than 6 days to put his offense in order, what he thinks could get the job done for this New York Giants offense. Was there a lot that needs to be improved upon? 1,000%. The offense is still stagnant. The offense still certainly wasn't helping out the defense. But I'm going to give him a couple more weeks before I go crazy. Do I think Freddie Kitchens is the long-term answer in terms of the play caller? No. But the question is he an upgrade over Jason Garrett? Yesterday, you didn't see it too much, right? I mean, there was a couple of things, like I said in my post-game video, that I saw differences, but in terms of execution, there wasn't much. We created 4 turnovers and put 13 points on the board, so the offense is still a major question mark But I'm going to give him a few more weeks before I go crazy in terms of bashing Freddie Kitchens. I'm not going to do it after 1 week. And like you said, man, I want to see him with his weapons back. The offensive line played okay yesterday, especially for them, but that's still obviously a major problem. We couldn't run the ball at all. Nate Solder's still trash. Will Hernandez is trash. We did only surrender 1 sack. We only gave up 8 pressures, but the only guy that I trust on that offensive line right now is Andrew Thomas. So that's still obviously a major, major, major problem. Brandon says, I like Tua in the draft. I just thought he was injury prone, to be fair. I also wanted Rosen. I mean, Tua might be a good quarterback. I mean, if you look at Tua over the last, let me pull up his stats. If you look at Tua over the last 3 games since he's come back into the starting lineup, I mean, not great, but against the Ravens, he threw for 158 yards, didn't have a touchdown, but no turnovers. The Jets, he had 273, 2 touchdowns and a pick. This past game, he had 230 and a touchdown. So he's kind of like Jones in the sense that over the last 4 games, he's not putting a ton of points on the board offensively with his arm, but he's also not making a ton of mistakes in terms of turning the football over, much like Jones kind of did this past week against the Eagles. It's like almost a carbon copy in terms of the yardage, the 1 touchdown, the QB rating's pretty similar. So I feel like he's kind of playing like Jones. And I think in a game like this, I think it's going to come down to the quarterback who turns the ball over less. Which defense creates more turnovers. And I'm going to be honest, I like the Giants' chances with that. I think our defense is definitely one of the better defenses in football when it comes to creating turnovers. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the challenge. Let me get Jai's before I lose it because a lot of times I don't get it here. Jai, glad to see you. Let's see if this works for once. What's up, Dana? Did you hear about? Yes, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And I'm going to be doing the Knicks game tomorrow. I just missed the last 3 Knicks games because of the holidays, and my brother's wedding was on Friday. But I'm going to be right back doing the Knicks games tomorrow, so I'm really looking forward to that. But, yeah, they made a change at the starting lineup. They put Alec Burks at the point guard. We'll see how it works, but they needed a change. And Kemba Walker, if you've been watching my streams, listen, I love Kemba Walker. I was excited when we brought him in, a New York guy. He's not good. He's not good anymore. And if he's not scoring, he doesn't help this New York Knicks team. The guy plays no defense. He's not a distributor. So I think it's the right move by Tibbs. We'll see how big of an impact Burks has. But I've always been a Burks fan, kind of like Burks more off the bench. But whatever works, man. Hopefully they get those rotations set. But, yeah, I think it was a good move by Thibodeau, by taking Kemba out of the lineup. But he hasn't done anything. Master says, how do you think Julian Love played? I mean, again, when you're live at the game, it's very hard for me on an individual basis to talk about the players. He, of course, recovered the fumble. I mean, the whole defense played well. The only part of the defense that I could say was bad was the run defense, where we gave up over 200 yards on the ground, but the coverage was obviously very good throughout the game. We got pretty good pressure. I think we had 20 pressures on Jalen Hurts throughout the game, so that's pretty damn good, especially factoring in that he didn't have a ton of passing attempts. So the D-line got pressure pretty much throughout the majority of that game. Were there times where there were clean pockets? Yes. The first interception by Jalen Hurts, I was there, I was watching the game, and I'm counting in my head, I'm that's 5, 6, 7 seconds. So I was there were times where we weren't getting good pressure on Hurts, but overall, I thought the D-line did a good job, and that had something to do with why we forced some turnovers. But, I mean, overall, there's really no players on the defense, especially in the secondary, that you could bash after a performance like that. I mean, we created three interceptions. Jalen Hurts threw for 120 yards. I mean, factor in the quarterback you're going up against. He's Tim Tebow. But sorry about that. I knocked myself out again. I don't know why that happens. I didn't even click anything that time, but it is what it is. I'm back. So if that happens again, know that I'll be back in 2 seconds. Sorry about that. Let's see. Let me pull up. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. But thank you to everybody for being here. I appreciate it. Let's see. I got T coming up, Noah coming up, Abe coming up. We got him as well. Bob coming up. And I'm just going to read it here because I don't think I got it there. Bob, man, thank you very much, man. I really like what I saw from Aaron Rodgers. Yes, that was a guy. And I noticed him a few times throughout the game from where I was sitting. And I thought it was him. I just wanted to make sure because of the dreadlocks. And yeah, he was very active in coverage, at least from where I was sitting. What I saw, Aaron Robinson looked like he made an impact in that football game. So yes, and they used him a decent amount. I didn't see what his snap count was, but it seemed like he was out there at least a decent amount of the time. So yeah, he was actually noticeable. He was one of the players that was definitely noticeable. Maybe it was because of his dreadlocks. Maybe it's because I was looking for him because he's a rookie. But it looked like Aaron Robinson was active and played a pretty good game, Bob. I agree with you on that, which is nice, being that we traded up for him in the third round. Abe says, what is it going to take to put in pair? Listen, I've been saying it now on Twitter for like a month. I don't know what the Giants are thinking at this point. I don't know. I mean, I put up a poll last night, Abe. I don't know if I think Nate Solder has to have nude pictures of John Mara. He has to. He's got nude pictures of John Mara. I'm going to start that because it has to be true, because I don't understand how Nate Solder is still playing for this football team. It makes zero sense. And they brought Matt Barrett in there in terms of playing basically a tight end, 2-3 tight end sets as an eligible receiver. But Matt Barrett needs to be starting, man. They had a lot of jumbo packages as well yesterday. Matt Barrett needs to be starting for this football team. Nate Solder's not an improvement. And you know he's not a part of the future. He sucks. So I'm with you, man. We got to get Matt Barrett out there as soon as possible and at least see what we have. Obviously, it's not good that the Giants feel like Solder gives them the better option when you see how Solder plays. But we got to at least get Matt Barrett some exposure, man. I'm with you, buddy. Noah, man, thank you very much. He says, did you see Bad Dog stand up? No, I didn't. No, I was at the game. So, no, I didn't. People on Twitter told me that he said it, though. I didn't see it, though. Maybe I'll go back and watch it. I obviously, I know the timestamp, so I'll go back to when the New York Giants scored a touchdown. Let me just take a sip of my coffee. But no, I didn't. I was yelling stand up in the crowd, though. But I'm looking forward to calling the games with you guys again this week. T, what's going on? Yo, Tate, I missed you Sunday. Glad you saw a win. I'm going to Hard Rock. Roll 14 at the 35-yard line. Giants side, my first NFL game. That's awesome. Enjoy the game, and hopefully we find a way to get a win. The last time we were in Miami, we went on the boat trip. So hopefully the New York Giants get a win for you, and we find a way to get back in this playoff race. But that's awesome. Enjoy the game. Flex says, Tatum, my guy, what's up? Yo, Saquon Barkley needs to step it up. Yeah, Saquon was a non-factor. Again, our offensive line was not good. We couldn't run it all throughout the majority of that game. When you look at it, I mean, I'll pull up the stats right now. Devontae Booker only had 3 carries, but he didn't run particularly well either. But Saquon Barkley was a non-factor outside of the one run. He had that one really nice run for 32 yards, and outside of that, he had, 12 carries for 8 yards? But as a team, we only had 27 carries for 70. So if you take away that 32-yard run, the Giants ran for what? 38 yards on 26 carries. Jones was 9 for 30. Devontae Booker was 3 for 10. We couldn't run block throughout the majority of that game. Of course, Darius Slayton on that horrible play call. I thought it was one of the worst play calls of the game, by the way. After we got the interception, I think it was the interception that McKinney got. The first play, the play that he drew up to Darius Slayton, it completely killed that whole drive. But that was a 13-yard loss as well. But yeah, Barkley definitely needs to play better. The offensive line certainly not doing him any favors, or anybody in that backfield, particularly yesterday. Clark says, hey, bro, you think thank you, Rager, for dropping those 2 passes at the end of the game. One for the TD that bounced off the helmet, the other off his hands on the 1-yard line. Made Philly fans feel exactly. Clocks, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, he dropped the passes, so on and so. I don't care. You know how many times I could say that when we played the Eagles? I don't care. At the end of the day, he didn't execute. And we say it all the time as Giants fans. Good teams find ways to win. Bad teams find ways to lose. Yesterday, the Eagles were a bad team. I don't care. They dropped the ball, and they had more than enough opportunities to score a touchdown throughout that game. Their offense yesterday was pathetic. John says, just tune in. Have you talked about the article discussing Joe Judge one? I was actually going to make a video on that. I may still make I probably will make a video on that tomorrow, giving my my real, well, I'll talk about it here too, but I was going to make a video on that probably tomorrow, talking about my thoughts on that whole scenario and why I cannot stand John Mara. Because to me, that just goes back to John Mara. The article came out, and who knows how true it is, but it probably is, knowing John Mara, that last year, probably during the time that Mark Colombo got fired by the New York Giants, Joe Judge wanted to fire Jason Garrett. And the Giants apparently wouldn't allow him to do it. He wanted to do it midseason last year. And it just goes back to show you that John Mara has way too much control over this football team. Who else would have blocked that, right? We all agree that Garrett was a Mara guy. The fact that Judge wanted to fire him after half a season goes to show you that even further. So to me, that speaks volumes in terms of the control that John Mara has over this football team, and he needs to let go of that control. But yeah, I did see that, and it's bad. We can't have our owner continuing to do things like that. Jared says Islanders or Rangers. I mean, I'm not a hockey fan, but if I'm going to pick one, I'll pick the Islanders. I always root for both when they're in the playoffs. I'm not a big hockey fan, but if I'm going to pick one, I go with the Islanders. He called my guy Tebow. He is. I mean, you could show me all the stats in the world. You could show me the QBRs. You could show me the whatever you want to show me. I watch how the guy throws the football. He's Tim Tebow. He's a more athletic Tim Tebow. He's a better runner than Tim Tebow. I know several, not just Bad Dog, several people have said he has the it factor. And I know Bad Dog does not like Jalen Hurts. He don't have no it factor. He's got the shit factor. That's what Jalen Hurts has. I am sick and tired of hearing about people telling me that Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. Jalen Hurts sucks. I've heard Giants fans on my channel tell me for weeks, oh, he's better than Daniel Jones. Better than Daniel Jones? Better than Daniel Jones. Why? Because statistics tell you so. Watch Daniel Jones throw the football and watch Jalen Hurts throw the football and tell me that Jalen Hurts throws the football better than Daniel Jones. Because if you think that, you're out of your mind. But thank you very much, man. Thanks for popping in, buddy. Let's see what we got here. Keith says, I know the line is bad, but is it just me or does Saquon miss the hole when it's there? Because he's trying to hit a big one. Booker just takes what he could get. I think that's definitely part of it. We knew that when we drafted Barkley. He was a home run hitter. And that's just the type of running back that he is. He's not a downhill runner. I definitely think that's part of it. And you saw it yesterday, right? He wasn't getting anything outside of the one carry. When he breaks a big one, it's for a lot of yardage. And maybe the Giants are not using Saquon Barkley properly. Maybe they do need to use him more in third down or in the passing game. I don't know. I just want it to work. I want to get the most out of his potential, but I don't know how much better of a job Booker would have done yesterday. It's not like the offensive line was giving them many holes in terms of running the football. But that's the type of running back that Saquon is, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Let's see what we got. Hurts sucks. I don't want to hear about it. Noah says, LMAO, it was a chair spinning stand up. What's going on there? Noah, man, thanks for popping in the stream, man. What's going on there? John Murphy, man, thanks for popping in, buddy. Let's see. And what's going on there, Bobby? He says, good owners control the money and leave football up. Exactly. And that's what I've said for years, man. With John Marin, any owner in general, I just want them to sign the checks and that's it. I'm with you, man. I don't want my owner having any say in terms of the personnel decisions, forcing my GM to make decisions. I'm completely with you on that. And Noah says, if Philly has DJ, they win that game. Of course they win that game. And by the way, it's not like an accomplishment that he's better than Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is not good, so it's not like I'm bragging about Daniel Jones, but he's better than Jalen Hurts. NFL Expert says, yesterday I was on Insta Live with, oh, that's awesome, man. Thanks for popping in, NFL Experts, man. Thanks for popping in the stream, man. Tana, you think we dropped the ball not drafting Micah Parsons, what we could have? Here's the thing, Kuda Bang, and I would have preferred, here was my preference on draft night. I wanted Slater. I knew we weren't drafting Parsons because of the character issues and everything else. But if I knew Parsons was a possibility outside of trading down, he would have been my second choice where we were. I would have wanted Slater 1. I would have wanted Parsons 2. And then probably a trade down. But I knew we were never taking Parsons. And if there's one guy that I really wish they drafted, it's actually Rashawn Slater. Just because I think that offensive line is so important and the New York Giants have to shore that up. But Micah Parsons is certainly a really good player. I mean, all you got to do is watch the guy play. The guy's a difference maker. He's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year and obviously would have helped his defense out. Make no mistake about it. Giants are going to have to draft a player like that in this year's draft, more than likely with one of those first two picks between their pick and the Bears pick. But yeah, Parsons obviously would have helped this team out tremendously. Would have taken this defense to another level. We don't have a playmaker like that on our defense in terms of getting after the quarterback. We just don't. Ryan says, yo, what part? Nassau County, Ryan. Nassau County, man. John says, Tana, good to see you, bro. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Giants going to be nasty soon. I feel it. I'm not going to get carried away. I'm not, because people criticize me for that. Oh, you're too optimistic. So I'm not going to get carried away. I'm going to take it 1 week at a time. But I'm happy with the effort yesterday defensively. I'm just happy that we beat the Eagles. And, we'll see. I think some of the young players are definitely getting better. Azeez Ojulari played well as well. Got the sack. McKinney's been a beast. I need to shore up the offensive line next year. But I do think the Giants could have a solid team next year if things keep going in the right direction. But, we don't even know who our general manager is going to be or anything like that. From the article that came out that I talked about yesterday, I personally think the Giants are going to hire somebody from within the staff. What's the guy's name? The guy that they brought, Brian. I think he's going to be your next general manager. Do some research. The Giants brought him in this year. I think he came from the Lions, but he has a former past with the New England Patriots. And in the article, they were talking about Patriots field office people. They brought O'Brien in this year. I think he's going to be your next general manager. That's the way I feel. I think it's going to be an in-house guy. I think they're going to want to push forward with Joe Judge. They're going to want somebody familiar with Joe Judge. That's what I think is going to happen. That's what I've thought is going to happen for weeks. I think he's going to be your next general manager. That's what I think is going to happen. Let's see what we got here, man. Jameson, be good, man. And Yuri says, if the offense was collaborative, then why not give Daniel Jones some West Coast packages or something? What do you mean, yesterday? I mean, here's the thing, Yuri. For this year, and we're going to talk about the Mets too. I'm pumped up about that. But for this year, you're not going to rip up the Jason Garrett playbook. You're just not. And that's what I said after week 5. That's what I said after week 6. I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have because you're not going to just rip something up that Daniel Jones just spent a year and a half learning in season. It takes a long time for a quarterback to learn a completely new playbook. So I knew that I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have changing offensive play callers from within a season. So you're not going to just switch from Jason Garrett's scheme to a West Coast style offense in the middle of the year, especially when you only had 6 days to prepare. So I'm not surprised by that. Will there be different play calls and maybe will he add his wrinkle? Yeah, but I don't expect it to be a Pat Shurmur-like offense. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to completely rip up the playbook in the middle of the season. It doesn't work that way. How am I feeling about the Mets? Listen, man, I'm a Met fan my whole life. I'm as big of a Met fan as I am, and I'm probably going to make a Met video tomorrow, just recapping the whole offseason so far. But I'm as big of a Met fan as I am a Giant fan. I friggin' love the Mets. And the Max Scherzer signing, I got home yesterday after the Giants game, and I go on Twitter, and I had like 5 of my subscribers like at me with the rumor that we were going to be signing Max Scherzer, and my jaw dropped when I read it. Max Scherzer is one of the top 5 pitchers in baseball. I don't care what his age is. He's like 36. I think he's going to be 37. He threw to like a 1.8 ERA last year with the Dodgers. He's thrown to a 2.7 or better ERA like over the last 5 years. I don't care that he's got 2 different colored eyes. The guy could throw, the guy's a flamethrower. He's a proven starter in the playoffs. You add him to this rotation with Jacob deGrom, and obviously you got to worry about injuries, right? They're both up there in age. But if those 2 guys are healthy, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer, there is not a better 1-2 punch in baseball. So, and it's a 3-year commitment. We all know Steve Cohen's got a ton of money. Steve Cohen could get out of that contract when, he'll eat the money. If Scherzer doesn't work out after 2 years, we eat the money, we sign somebody else. So I'm not worried about that. There's no salary cap in baseball. So I thought it was a great signing by the New York Mets, and it's something that we definitely needed with the rotation. So I'm pumped up, man. And Reddick next GM. Yeah, a lot of people have talked about Theo Riddick being the next GM. I don't know, man. I don't think they're going to do that. I really don't. I think they're going to hire from in-house or somebody, like he said, with the New England Patriots. Because I think Joe Judge is going to be the coach. And I don't think they're going to be looking to bring in an outsider. That's just my honest opinion. I don't think they're going to do that. But maybe they will. Mets already over the luxury tax. The Mets don't care. The Mets don't care. Steve Cohen doesn't care. John says, we can make it right for passing on Parsons by drafting Nakobe Dean, another Georgia Bulldog, Roquan Smith 2.0 after drafting Tyler Linderbaum. They're going to draft a defensive playmaker in this draft, I think, with one of those first 2 picks. I think they're going to take a lineman, and I think they're going to take a defensive playmaker. That's what I think they're going to do. Yeah, it's Giants, but it was obviously a huge signing for the Mets, so I figured we'll talk a little bit about that. James says, I want Carl Banks on the short list of general managers. I mean, maybe. People have brought that up in the past. Maybe they'll elect to do that. I don't know. He doesn't have much experience in terms of being a general manager. I don't know. I think it's going to be somebody that's already in their field office or somebody with the Patriots, but maybe he will be. Maybe he'll be one of the guys that they consider. What's up there, Vintage Skills, man? How long until this realistically is top 10? Oh, this O-line is realistically top 10. I mean, it could happen in a year if we're being real. It could. Will it? Probably not. But if I had to guess, if they do it the right way and they focus on the offensive line early in the draft and they hit on the players, which is obviously, it's easy to say, oh, just draft offensive line and it'll fix it. No, we've tried that. We drafted Eric Flowers. That didn't work. We drafted Justin Pugh. Didn't really work. Weston Richburg didn't really work. So you have to hit on the picks. But if they pay attention to the offensive line, do I think it could be at least an average unit within 2 years? Yeah. I'm not going to put, even if they draft an early offensive lineman next year, I'm not going to put the expectations that they're going to be at least an average offensive line next year, for the simple reason that we saw with Andrew Thomas. It takes young players time to develop. You can't expect them to just jump in and just snap their fingers and have a great offensive line like that, especially being that more than likely you're going to lose Will Hernandez. That's going to be another vacancy you're going to have to fill. And there's really nobody on this line I have any confidence in. To me, they need at least 3 additions to this offensive line to make them a top 10 unit. At least 3 new additions to this offensive line. I don't trust Matt Parrott. The Giants certainly don't. They're playing Nate Solder over him. Nick Gates, you don't know what he's going to be when he comes back from the injury. Shane Lemieux sucked before the injury. So we got a lot of building to do before we start, before I start having confidence in terms of this being an above average unit. But could it happen in 2 years? Sure. A lot of that comes down to the offensive coordinator, the quarterback as well. But you got to start somewhere, man. You got to start somewhere. What's going on there, Soggy Nachos, man? Thanks for popping in. Whatever happened with Nick Gates, I know he's hurt. He's out for the year. And he may not be the same player ever again. It was a very serious injury. He may not be the same player ever again. What's up, Chris? I noticed that. Yeah, he did. He what's his name? Pharaoh Cooper, I think. Yeah, they used it. I think they ran a end around to him as well. But yeah, he did. He made a nice catch as well that kind of was in traffic off of his hands. I don't expect him to be an impact player. He won't play once we get our receivers back, but he did a good job. What's up there, Christian F, man? We need a statement game against the Dolphins. That's a must-win game. If we want any chance to make the playoffs, that's a must-win game. You got to get to 5-7 to give yourself an opportunity, and then you take it from there. But that's a must-win game. Ryan says Aiden Hutchinson is who we need out of Michigan. I love Aiden Hutchinson, and especially, I've been doing a little bit of research. I watched the Michigan game this past week when they played Ohio State, and maybe that was his best game he's had. I don't watch every Michigan game. That guy's a friggin' animal. I would love Aiden Hutchinson on the Giants. Unfortunately, if I had to guess, Aiden Hutchinson's probably going to be a top 4 or 5 pick. And it's not looking like we're going to have a top 4 or 5 pick, at least right now. Maybe the Bears will give that to us. But we'll see. They play a really tough schedule. But, yeah, I would love Aiden Hutchinson. Let's see what we got here. Bring Reese back. He'll trade for Beckham and sign Ingram to a 5-year deal. I realize every time the Giants play at nighttime, the other team throws a pick on the first drive. Well, we didn't play at nighttime this week. But maybe you mean that overall. What's up there, Jarvis Juice? I mean, against the Chiefs, they threw a pick on the first drive. Did they throw a pick on the first drive against Washington? I can't remember. Ryan, man, thank you very much, man. Edge rush, bro. Had 4 sacks. Yeah, I thought it was 3, but I guess it was 4. He was constant pressure that entire game. He's an animal. And Clark says, little bro, I know you tweeted about Hutchinson. I think he's a beast. Is he on our wish list for the draft? He definitely is. He definitely is on he's the second best edge rusher in this year's draft class. And it's a rich, by all accounts, it's a very rich draft class for edge rushers. So yeah, man, for sure, he's on my wish list. I don't think he's going to be there when we pick, at least right now. Got to see where the Bears pick's going to be. But for me, I either want 2 offensive linemen or an edge and an offensive lineman. And if you're picking top 4, top 5, you have an opportunity to take Hutchinson and then get an offensive lineman with your second pick, you do it. A guy like Hutchinson, if he's going to be that big of an impact player, he can make this defense turn into a headsy defense that creates turnovers to a near elite defense if he's that type of prospect, right? If he becomes like a Bosa type talent for the 49ers, he can make our defense from like a top 10 unit to like a top 5 unit. That's the type of impact if he's that type of player that he can have on this defense. So, yeah, for sure, man. He's definitely on my wish list. He's definitely a guy I got my eye on. Let's see what we got here. And Flex says, I would love for the New York Giants to draft Evan Neal. Oh, God, Evan Neal's a beast. That's another guy, though, unfortunately. I shouldn't say unfortunately because I don't know where we're going to be picking. But at least right now, and again, you don't know. Things change leading up into the draft, right? I remember, even though Thomas went 4th overall to us, nobody had him going that high, right? I mean, leading up into the draft, like before the combine, people had it. But leading up into the draft, most people had him as the second, third, or 4th offensive lineman off the board. And very few people had him going in the top 8 or 9. So things change leading up into the draft. But Evan Neal right now, if you look at most mock drafts, most people have him going inside the top 5. But yeah, for sure, that's a guy I definitely would love you get a guy like that on the right side, that he's a beast. Jihad says, after watching my Buckeyes get embarrassed by Michigan this weekend, I want Aiden Hutchinson. If we go with a defensive playmaker early in the draft, obviously a lot of people are going to say Kayvon Thibodeau as well, but most people have Thibodeau going first overall. So obviously I don't think we're going to have that high of a pick. That's going to go to the Detroit Lions. But I think most people would say he's probably the second best edge rusher in this year's draft class, and potentially could be the best possible edge rusher that we could draft. So for sure, he's on my wish list, man. His draft stock went way up after a game like that, though. That was such a big game to begin with. You had, like, I think, what was it, 2 versus 5? So, that had playoff implications for college football. Huge Big Ten rivalry. So his draft stock went through the roof. I think he's going to go top 3 or 4 right now, if I had to guess. But you don't know. What if he goes out there and has a mediocre combine? Could drop his stock a little bit. You don't know right now. Christian says, Dave Gettleman is a good talent evaluator. Look at Tate Crowder, for crying out loud. He took Andrew Thomas when others said he was was the 4th offensive lineman in the draft. Sadly, Gates and Shane are injured. Listen, I've been as fair as I can with Dave Gettleman, Christian, and I do think there are some good things that he's done. I don't think he's as bad as some people say, but at the end of the day, I can't defend the guy anymore. I just can't. And I think it's time for a change. I never thought Dave was going to be the long-term answer here. I always thought he was going to be a stopgap Band-Aid type GM. And he was going to be, if things worked out, he was going to be the kind of GM that when you look back 4 or 5 years after he left, you'd give him some credit for building a Super Bowl contending roster. But I never thought he was going to be the long-term answer. The guy's 70, 71, 72 years old. Did he do some good things? Yeah, but at the end of the day, his biggest promise was the offensive line. And the offensive line's no better. And Daniel Jones, when you draft a quarterback that high, for him still to be at least a question mark in year 3, that doesn't look good either. Same thing can be said about Saquon Barkley. So as much as I want Dave to work out, I'm a Giants fan, right? If the general manager works out, that means the team's working out. It has not up to this point. Are there things you could look at and say, yeah, he did a good thing here, he did a good thing there? Yeah. I think this draft, outside of not addressing the offensive line, but getting the future draft capital, getting the players he got, I think you could certainly argue was a pretty strong draft. I think his free agency class the year before was a strong free agency class. I think the Andrew Thomas pick, like you said, was a good pick. But overall, I can't defend Dave anymore. John Gruden, what's going on, man? I'm very worried about the prospect of Judge coming back. I don't think they trust Jones, and I think Judge is going to force a quarterback pick this year. That's possible, John. It really is, because it's a good point you bring up, John. And I'm not saying they're going to do that. But the one thing I will say that you could say about Judge, and of course he's going to say all the right things, right? He's always going to back up his quarterback. And he always says that Daniel Jones is our quarterback. And I hope he legitimately feels that way if he's saying that. But the one thing that you could say, it doesn't seem, and it may just be his philosophy and the way that he coaches and he tries to play to the strength of the team, which is the defense. But it doesn't seem that he has supreme confidence in Daniel Jones. And of course, Joe Judge did not draft Daniel Jones. So is it possible? Sure. Do I think it's a good idea? No. I don't think the New York Giants should be drafting a quarterback. I think it'd be a mistake. I don't think they should be drafting a quarterback in this year's draft. That's just my opinion right now. Maybe it'll change leading up into the draft. But, all you got to do is look at that drive yesterday when the Giants got the ball back with a minute and a half left. And rather than giving Jones an opportunity to put the game on ice, and I understand Jalen Hurts sucks, horrible. Jalen Hurts is trash. I understand it. And you feel like you have a better opportunity to win the game if you make them waste their timeouts. And maybe in a different situation, he would have operated differently, right? You got to think about it fairly, right? Like if they're playing Russell Wilson, who doesn't suck like Jalen Hurts, maybe he does give Daniel Jones that opportunity to win that football game. And he was playing to the team's strengths. But you could certainly, all you got to do is look at yesterday's game. He didn't give Jones the opportunity to put that game on ice. And let's see what we got here. Alex, man, thank you very much, man. Trade for Russell Wilson. I wouldn't, because although we would upgrade a quarterback, we wouldn't be able to upgrade at other positions. I would not as well. And I know that's going to be like the popular take by a lot of people that, we get Russell Wilson and everything's going to be fine. I wouldn't do it either, because to me, Russell Wilson, he's going to be 34 years old, I think. Let me double check before I say that, because I don't want to say something wrong. Let me look at his age. Russell Wilson is Right now he is, he's going to be 34 next year. He's 33 right now. He's going to be 34 years old next year. And we don't have, if you're being honest with yourself, Alex, do we have a good enough team to win right now? Even if we added Russell Wilson? And when I say win, I'm not talking about sneak into the playoffs. I'm talking about compete to win a Super Bowl. The answer is no. And if you do that, one, you're giving up a ton of draft capital. You absolutely are for Russell Wilson. You're giving up a ton of draft capital. So you're affecting your future, and you're bringing him to a team who is not a Russell Wilson away from winning a Super Bowl, at least in my opinion. Maybe some people disagree with that. And you're not going to really be able to improve the rest of the team. You have no money in cap space. If you add Russell Wilson, the cap space is even less. As a matter of fact, you'd have to get some players off the team in order to make it work. Probably incorporate them in the trade. So I just don't think, do I think there are some teams where Russell Wilson makes sense? Yes. I don't think the Giants are one of them. I'm not in the business of improving this team to the point where we could sneak into the playoffs, maybe win a playoff game. I'm in the business of winning Super Bowls. And if you bring Russell Wilson here, he's going to be 34 years old, and he's coming to a mediocre team to begin with. Maybe if things click by year 3 or 2 when he's like 36, 37, maybe by then. But then at that point, you don't even know if Russell Wilson's the same quarterback. So I'm with you. I don't think it's a good decision. Bob, man, thank you very much, man. With 2 1s, 2 3s, and 2 4s, and 2 5s, this, in my mind, is a franchise-altering draft. It's a huge draft. We have 10 picks, I think we got, right? 2, let me count what you said. 2, we obviously have a second as well. 3, 5, 7. We got a lot of picks. I know that. and we'll probably get some comp picks in the following draft as well, because I think we're going to lose some guys to free agency. But we got a lot of picks this year, and I'm with you, man. And that's really going to be the only way we can improve this team dramatically. We're not going to go out there and go on a spending spree in free agency. So we're going to have to make sure we hit on those picks, man. But, we say that every year. But this draft in particular, with 2 first-round picks, it's going to be a big draft for the Giants. And potentially definitely a new GM. The question is the GM going to have a completely different philosophy? Or are they going to try to build off of what Gettleman has built, which is not much? Art, man, what's going on? I got to meet Art at the game. By the way, one of my biggest surprises, and it has nothing to do with the way that you speak or anything like that. Art's in my streams all the time. Can't say thank you enough for coming in. Art Vandelay is obviously a Seinfeld reference. So I always, a lot of times when I talk to you guys, I picture how old you guys are, what I think you guys look like. I would have never, or I think Art Vandelay is like 21 years old, 22 years old. I pictured you as like a 40, 45, 50-year-old guy. It was an absolute blast getting to meet you. And thank you so much, man. You're a great kid, and it was fun getting to talk to you and your dad about the Giants. It was great to meet you at the game, Chris, but it was even better to watch the Eagles lose. Do you think we need interior offensive linemen over offensive tackle on this trip? I think we need both. But if you ask me right now, I think it's equal. I think it's equal, man. I don't trust Matt Parrott. I know a lot of people view him as a project and they hope he could be a long-term answer. I'm done with hope. I think we need both. I think both are huge needs for this team. But I mean, if you ask me, I would lean, I guess, towards the interior offensive line, because especially when you factor in that we're going to lose Will Hernandez, we literally have nobody. We have nobody at the guards or the center spot. So I would lean towards interior offensive line, but I think we need both. I think we definitely need an improvement at the tackle spot as well. But if I had to pick one, I'd go with the interior. But Art, man, it was a pleasure getting to meet you, man. And John Gruden says, if I were the GM, trade Jones, sign cheap stopgap. And John, I don't even necessarily disagree with that if the right deal presented itself. It's easy to say trade him, but if you got a really good deal and you felt like that Jones was not the long-term answer, you have to at least explore it. But, of course, you have to feel that he's not the long-term answer, and we'll see what the new GM feels. But, again, if there's a deal, I'm not going to trade him for peanuts, but if there's a deal, you have to at least consider it. Let's see what we got. And John says, Chris, let's say hypothetically the Giants draft offensive line and defensive line with the first 2 picks. But on day 2, the quarterback is sitting there second or third round. Are you taking a quarterback? Me personally, John, and I understand where you're coming from with that, and it could work, right? It worked with Russell Wilson. It worked with Dak Prescott, albeit they came into a great situation, both those quarterbacks, when they first started in the league. It could work, don't get me wrong, but me personally, I don't want to mess around with the quarterback pick. For me, if I'm drafting a quarterback, I'm not drafting a quarterback that has as much of a likelihood of being a backup as a starter, which is kind of what you're looking at when you're looking second or third round, more often than not, unless they come into a situation like Dallas or Seattle where they had Marshawn Lynch and that great defense. Me personally, If I'm not drafting a quarterback in the first, which I would not do, I'm not drafting a quarterback. I'm waiting until another year, another 2. The Jets used to do that all the time. The Jets used to take, late first round, second round. You think about Geno Smith. You think about there were so many. I can't even remember all their names off the top of my head. But I feel like the Jets drafted like 3 second-round quarterbacks in like a 5 or 6 year span. Obviously, they took Sanchez early. But for me, Christian Hackenberg, I think, was one of them. But for me, if I'm not taking a quarterback in the first round, I'm not in. Now again, if you're in love with a quarterback in the 4th round, sure. But for me, 2nd, 3rd round, I think there's way too many needs on this team, and you could still get immediate impact players with those picks. I'm not thinking about the quarterback at that point. I'm waiting another year to draft my quarterback. But that's me. Let's see what we got here. What's up, Mel's? Thanks for popping in. And Beno says, I want 2 offensive linemen and a pass rusher in the 2nd. I'm with you. That's what I mean, in any order. Like, I'm cool with an edge first and 2 offensive linemen, 2 offensive linemen. That's in my opinion, those are the 3 things I want the most. But I want to continue to say, Beno, I really think we need a middle linebacker too. I don't know how much longer Martinez is going to be here, especially coming off the injury. And we need a coverage linebacker, man. But I'm with you, man. I prefer the edge first. But I think those are our 3 biggest needs right now. But, man, thank you very much, buddy. Let's see what we got. Brady says, not draft a quarterback, Chris, but trade, yes. DJ isn't the answer, we all know it, but O-line and quarterback need to change. We have talent everywhere else. Be easy, bro. Brady, man, thanks for popping in. Like I said, if there's a deal there, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand people that think we need an upgrade at the quarterback. I get it. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not winning football games. I'm not putting it all on Daniel Jones's plate. That's just the way I am as a fan. I think there's a lot more factors to it. I have never felt, if I'm being completely honest, that Daniel Jones was an elite quarterback. So if you're asking me, do I think Daniel Jones is a Super Bowl quarterback, which is really the question you have to ask yourself when you're giving a guy a 2nd contract, I would obviously lean no. He's done nothing to prove otherwise for me. Do I think there's things in his game that I like? Yeah. Do I think he's a hard worker? Is he a guy that's easier to work to root for? Absolutely. But do I think he's a long-term answer at this point? How could I say that? How could I say he's a long-term answer? Do I think he potentially could be? Anything's possible if you build the team the right way. But it's going to be very hard, I think, for the Giants to get to a point to give him that 2nd contract when the time comes about. And maybe my opinion will change on that in a year or 2 if this team improves and I start to see a lot more consistency with Jones in terms of putting up numbers or offense looking much better. But yeah, if I was a GM, and I said it in my post-game video against the Bucks, if I was a GM and a team came to me with a Sam Darnold-like offer, which I don't know if they will or won't, I definitely think it's possible, though, because it's not a strong quarterback draft class to begin with. You have a lot of teams that need a quarterback, and I definitely think that Daniel Jones, in the right situation, could be a very good quarterback in this league. I 1,000% think that. And if you're the Saints, that's the team I keep bringing up because I think it's the perfect fit for him. You might be willing to do something. You might be willing to give up something to bring him into your team, but it'd have to be a good offer. And yeah, at that point, then I don't draft a quarterback. Like you said, I sign a stopgap and it's a hold me over until I draft my next quarterback. I don't think that's a crazy idea at all, Brady, if I'm being honest with you. Let's see what we got here. Will J says, what kind of stopgap quarterback would you want? I mean, everybody's going to say Aaron Rodgers. Everybody's going to say Deshaun Watson. Everybody's going to say Russell Wilson. But in the realistic world, the term stopgap, and I guess people have different definitions for what a stopgap is. The term stopgap for me is a guy that gets you from one potential franchise quarterback to the next. Okay, that's what a stopgap is. It's a guy that you don't view as a long-term answer. It's a guy that you don't view as a guy that's going to make you a Super Bowl contender. That's not what a stopgap is. A guy like Brady going to the Bucs, that's like a hired mercenary. That's like a team that is ready to compete for a Super Bowl. They bring in a veteran, and he puts them over the top. That's not the situation the New York Giants are in. The situation the New York Giants are in, if they were to go that route, the stopgap is a guy like Teddy Bridgewater. That's what he is to me. Teddy Bridgewater's a guy that could start for 8 to 10 teams in the league. And he's a guy that's a hold me over quarterback until you draft your future potential franchise quarterback. So Bridgewater's a guy I have named, Nick Foles, Jimmy Garoppolo. There's a number of guys. Tyrod Taylor, people have brought up. There's a guy that you can find to man the fort if you were to go that route. But we're not going to bring in Aaron Rodgers is never going to want to come here. Russell Wilson to me doesn't make a lot of sense because he's 34 years old. And I don't see the Giants trading for Deshaun Watson. Hakeem, man, thank you very much, man. My man, Tana, I love Dexter Lawrence with all I got, but throughout the season, he's been iffy. Huge play last game. Will be a part of the long term. I don't know that answer, Hakeem. I really don't, because I don't know who our general manager is going to be. His philosophy could be completely different than Dave Gettleman. So I don't know. If I go back in time, I wouldn't have drafted Dexter Lawrence at 17. I think Lawrence is a good player, though. Not great, but he's a good player. It would depend on what the contract would be, right? But I like Dex. I mean, I like Dex a lot. One of my favorite guys on the defense. But yeah, he's definitely not exceeded my expectations. Let's put it that way. I think we all had higher hopes for him after his rookie season. But to me, it would come down to who the general manager was going to be, and what his philosophy was going to be. If they hire an in-house guy, I suppose it's more likely we'd keep him, but you don't know that, man. I mean, they may have a completely different, and Joe Judge, obviously, in my opinion, because I think we're sticking with Judge. I really believe that. He's going to have as much in terms of the personnel decision-making as the GM is going to, especially if you hire an in-house guy or bring in a guy from the Patriots. So I don't know what Judge's philosophy would be in terms of paying a player like that long-term. So I don't know. I really don't know. Will says Xavier's potential Pro Bowler this year, 5 interceptions. For sure. He's playing his ass off. He was the best player on our defense. He had a 92 PFF grade yesterday. He's been awesome. Definitely one of the shining spots of our defense this year. Mike says, thoughts on the Giants maybe acquiring. Yeah, I just talked about it. I just don't see it. I mean, of course, if they get Russell Wilson, I'll be excited like all of you guys. He's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the sport. Top 5, top 6 quarterbacks in the sport. Easy guy to root for. I'd be excited if we got him. Don't get me wrong. He'd clearly make the team better, but I just don't think it adds up. I don't think it makes a lot of sense at this point in time. I really don't. I don't think we're a Russell Wilson away from winning a Super Bowl. And it's not like Russell Wilson's 28. He's going to be 34. You have to think he's going to start to tail off a little bit. And you'd basically be throwing away your entire future to be able to build a team, because you're giving up at least 3 first-round picks for Russell Wilson. At least. I mean, you look what Matt Stafford got. I think, what did he get? 2, 3 first round? You're giving up a lot for Russell Wilson. So, I don't know, man. I just don't think it makes sense for the Giants. I really don't. If we were a better team, I might feel differently. But for me, the Russell Wilson thing, you know what I would equate it to? If the Giants were to bring in Russell Wilson, it would be like when the Jets brought in Brett Favre. That's the way I look at it. Like, Brett Favre was still clearly a good quarterback. He went to the Vikings, which was a much better team after the Jets. And he ended up having a really good year. They probably should have won the Super Bowl that year. That was a great Vikings team. But the Jets were not – Favre made them better, but they didn't win a Super Bowl. They didn't even make the playoffs. I think they went 9-7. That's what I think Russell Wilson would be for the Giants. And if you're giving away all your future draft capital, to me, it just doesn't add up. It's about winning Super Bowls. It's not about making the playoffs for me. And I don't think Russell Wilson is the answer at the age of 34 with the team we currently have. Connor says, I want to keep Jones for at least one more year, but if we trade him, what do you think we could get? Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say, because if you would have told me last year, if the Jets trade Darnold, like, let me look again at what the Jets got for Darnold. I would have told you no way, right? I mean, the Jets got a pretty good package for Sam Darnold, and all it takes is one team to look at a quarterback and be like, yeah, we could fix that guy. We like his upside. We like his potential. We could put him in our situation to get the most out of him. Whether or not there's going to be teams like that, I don't know. But the Jets got a pretty good deal for Sam Darnold, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm trying to find the exact deal. And, I mean, if you can get a deal like that and you don't feel Jones is the long-term answer, you have to at least be considerate and be forward-thinking. But I'm trying to find what the exact deal was. I don't want to give you guys false information. But when they made that deal, I was like, wow, I'm surprised the Jets were able to get that. I think it was like a second, a fourth, and a sixth, something like that. They got a good deal for Sam Darnold. Yeah, I can't find it right now, but I'm sure somebody in the chat knows. But I'm pretty sure it was like a second, a fourth, and a sixth. I don't know what you could get. It comes down to how teams feel about Jones around the league, and if they feel by putting them on their team, he could, become a different quarterback. And I'm going to be honest with you. If I was Sean Payton, it's why I keep saying the Saints, if the Giants are looking to do something like that, I'd feel that way. If I was Sean Payton, I'd feel that Daniel Jones is a big improvement over my quarterbacks that I currently have. Now, Jameis Winston, I'm not saying Winston. I'm saying the guys they currently have. And Winston, you don't know if he's going to be back. He's got a season-ending injury. You don't know if he's going to be back. It was a one-year deal. So that's why I bring them up. Bearman, thank you very much. Well, I think we should draft an offensive lineman with one of our picks. I think we should draft a defensive tackle like the Marvin Leal or one of the other guys from Georgia. Shelton is not the answer. I completely agree. I thought, if you look over my mock drafts this past year, Bear, I thought the Giants were going to draft an interior defensive lineman in like the 4th round area, the 5th round area. I'm in complete agreement with you. We definitely need to draft an interior defensive lineman in this year's draft. What was the name of the guy? I don't think I would have wanted him in the 3rd. I probably would have wanted him in the 4th. I had a huge draft day crush on the guy that the Eagles took. The Eagles took him in the 3rd round. I don't even know how he's playing with the Eagles, but that was a guy I thought if I was the Giants GM, I would have been very interested in the 4th round. I think he went a little bit earlier than I thought he would, but I'm with you, man. I think they need to draft an interior defensive lineman. I'm not saying 1st or even 2nd round, but I agree they need to take one, maybe in the 3rd or 4th round area. T says edge, offensive guard, offensive tackle, center, edge, linebacker, tight end, crazy. I mean, again, T, going into a draft, I never want to like say that this has to be like Milton Davis. I think that was his name. Yep, Eddie, I think that was his name. And I liked him when the Eagles got him. I was pissed. I remember on draft night, I was pissed when they got him because he had like a ridiculous combine. He had a better combine than like I remember reading the article. I think it was like he was better than Aaron Donald. Like it was an insane combine. He had really high upside, and I was pissed when the Eagles got him. As far as the draft order, you know, I never like to put a strict position in terms of round by round basis, but in terms of our needs, I think interior offensive line, exterior offensive line, edge, line coverage linebacker, and tight end, punter as well in the last round. But I keep saying I want them to draft the punter in the 7th round this year. We have a lot of needs. We still have a lot of needs. I think we need on defense. We definitely need an edge. We definitely need a coverage linebacker. And I think we need another corner. I do. I think we need another corner because I don't know how much longer Bradbury's going to be here. Adore Jackson, who I like a lot. And I think he's kind of been overlooked by a lot of Giants fans this year. But you don't know. You don't know how long he's going to be here. It was a 3-year contract. So I think we need a young corner as well. I'm not saying draft him in the 1st or 2nd round, but I think that's a need as well. Tight end is certainly going to be a need because you're going to lose Evan Ingram. They obviously are not in love with Caden Smith. They signed Kyle Rudolph this year, who I think will be cut by year's end. So, yeah, tight end for sure could be a need as well. Masab says, is Caleb Williams going to be in the 2023 draft? I believe he is, yes. Let me just confirm that, but I'm almost positive. No, he's a freshman, isn't he? I think Caleb, no, maybe, he's the Oklahoma quarterback. I think he's a true freshman. So if he is, he will not be, he's got to play 3 years in college. So he's got 2 more years after this one until he's eligible to be in the draft. So he's not for a while. He's got a couple more years before he's going to be in the draft. Josh says, man, was it nice seeing Eagles fans crushed in person and actually had an Eagles fan say to me, good win. Yeah, there were not any, at least where I was. There was one fight going in. There was, and I love the guy. He's got a YouTube channel. He's a Spanish Giants YouTuber. He's a really nice guy. I think he got a little too drunk. He got into a little bit of a fight with an Eagles fan going in, but outside of that, I didn't really see any fights in the stands. Everybody was pretty respectful. Eagles fans were definitely pissing me off at times when they were doing their EAGLES chant, but it was just friendly banter back and forth. I didn't see much of that, but it was nice. It was nice to see the Eagles fans upset at the end of the game. Always a nice sight to see. I think that was only the second. I'd have to think about it. I think that was only the second Giants-Eagles game I've ever been to. I know I've been to one. I think that was only the second I've ever been to. Nelly, thanks, Bob. I got to meet Nelly. She was awesome. Hey, Chris, great meeting you at the game, and we got the win, but we got to focus on our O-line in this draft. Nelly, you're preaching to the choir. I think that's why you watch my channel. But you're preaching to the choir. We got to focus on the offensive line every draft until we fix it. So I'm with you on that. That's all I've said since I've come on YouTube. That's all I said long before I was on YouTube with my friends. I used to annoy the hell out of them. Line. So we're in agreement with that. And it was a pleasure getting to meet you, Nelly. She was awesome. So thank you so much for stopping by. Let's see what we got. Jova says, if we get a couple of good edge rushers as well as old linemen in this draft, I think we could succeed with DJ. Think Phil Simms. I don't think it's impossible, Jova. I really don't. It's why I say it's kind of up to the GM, and I'm not going to be upset one way or the other. If they elect to stick with Jones and see if by building the team around him, he can improve as a quarterback and we can start winning football games, I'm completely fine with that. I just think you have to at least be open to the idea, if you don't know if he's going to be the long-term answer, if the right deal presented itself, to at least listen to offers. But I'm with you. I wouldn't force a trade, and I would try to improve the team around Jones next year and see how the team plays and see how he plays as a result of it. And, obviously I would need to see a dramatic improvement in not just in the team's win total, but him as a quarterback, if we were able to improve the team around him. And even if the offensive line wasn't clicking, if after 4 years you didn't have any idea of whether or not Jones could be a long-term answer, at that point you got to move on, because you cannot give him a second contract at that point. But I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with that. But you got to improve the team around him. Let's see what we got. Josh, man, what's going on? Don't you believe in keeping Judge? Don't you believe keeping Judge limits our potential on a new GM hiring? So we're going to probably be hiring in-house, and I want a fresh shot. That's what's going to happen. That's what I've thought for, well, I should say that's what's going to happen. Anything could happen. That's what I think is going to happen. That's what I thought is going to happen for the last 3 weeks. Now, it may not be an in-house. It may be a Patriots guy. And I want to get the thoughts on the chat on this. Let me pull up here so I'm caught up with you guys, people in the chat. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. What are you, for me, if the Giants hire a Patriots guy, say they go from outside the organization, they bring in somebody from the Patriots, specifically the Patriots, because obviously the reasoning for that would be they want to bring in a guy that could work collaboratively with Joe Judge. For me personally, I think that's, if you're a guy that does not believe in Joe Judge, much like Josh just said, and you want to move on from him as a head coach, if you have that belief, I think that's a worse alternative than bringing in somebody from inside. Because if you do that, you're giving Judge an even longer leash, and I think you're giving Judge more power if you bring in a guy from the New England Patriots. Because you're bringing in a guy specifically that you're basically saying, Judge, you're our guy. You're going to call the shots. We're bringing in a guy that could work with you. So for me, if they're going to do that, I personally would rather have Judge on almost a shorter leash and make it so he has to prove himself. And I'm not out on Judge. I've said I want Judge to have another year. But if you're going to handpick a GM, I feel like you're giving Judge more power. So I almost would prefer an in-house hire to that. Let's see what we got here. I think Riddick will do good. We'll see, Ryan. The Patriots have not drafted well. Now, granted, the Patriots have had later draft picks, so it's not fair to compare the way they've drafted to other teams, if we're being honest, but they definitely have not drafted well. And the other thing I'll say is they have obviously tired of in-house, no Patriots either. McCann says, yeah. Chris, we really have that. I know. That's what I said earlier, Lenny. I think he's going to be our next GM. I forgot who it was. I think I was talking to Mage, who I do the Mets show with every now and again before the year started, and he brought up O'Brien to me, and then I looked into him. I think he's going to be our next GM. I said that at the top of the stream. He's got a connection to Judge. We brought him in from the Lions this year. I think they brought him in knowing that he was going to replace Gettleman. I think next year's GM is already on the staff. I'm with you. Will says, is the Dolphins a Deshaun Watson away from winning a Super Bowl? Because their line is just as bad as ours. Their skill players are comparable to ours. Well, first off, I'll say Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson are completely different. Deshaun Watson's like 26. I mean, I think he's around there. Russell Wilson's like 8 years older. So it's completely different. It's apples and oranges for me. If you bring in Deshaun Watson, that's a guy that you could build a long-term future with. Obviously, what you worry about with Deshaun Watson is the off-the-field stuff. And are the Giants, or, somebody's going to be willing to do it. Obviously, the Dolphins have showed interest. But would the Giants be willing to bring him in? Obviously, with, the charges off the field. But in terms of just a football skill standpoint, and because of his age, I think Watson would be a better fit. And let's see what we got here. Tom's World says, look into Jamari Seiler. He's a straight beast of a center. I will definitely look into him. You know who I want, man. But that's if we go in the first round. But Linderbaum, I've watched a ton of film on Linderbaum. That guy's a friggin' animal. I love watching that guy play, but I haven't really looked at the second round prospects. But I don't know if he's a second round prospect, but I would assume he is if he's a center. But yeah, I'll give him. I'm definitely going to look into the prospects a lot more as the offseason gets underway. But I'm going to have my eyes on the interior offensive line. Imp says, poor LA, they got Stafford and festering App says Beckham, they're done. I think Beckham caught a touchdown yesterday, right? And if he did, I'm surprised that the Odell Beckham fans didn't come out and go crazy. Yeah, he did. He had a good game. Whenever Beckham has a good game, everybody goes insane. They act like he's Jerry Rice. But no, he caught a touchdown yesterday. So happy for him with the Rams. It's a great spot for him. And I still think he'll do a good job over there. But yeah, I've moved on from Odell Beckham. The Rams, though, Imp, have surprised me this year. I really thought the Rams were my Super Bowl pick before the year started. And they've disappointed me. I know they're 7-4. I thought they were going to be the best team in the NFC. They're clearly not. Best team in the NFC right now, obviously you have to say the Cardinals. If I was going to pick a team, it's probably the Packers for me because I think the Packers are going to ultimately get the 1 seed because they play in the NFC North. I think they're 9-3. But it's up in the air. Anybody could go to the Super Bowl this year. Donovan says, hey, Chris, exactly this time last year, we were also 4-7 and in first place in the NFC East and the 4 seed in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, obviously the NFC least last year, right? The playoffs are not done. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up. We still have a long way to go before you can even consider it like a strong possibility. But anybody that says there's no chance, they're just either being too cautious or too negative. There's a chance. It's not a good one, but there's a chance. We're a game out. We're a game out of the playoffs right now. Obviously, we're linked in with a bunch of other teams, but we're a game out of the playoffs with a fairly winnable schedule to end the year. And we'll see how we do against the Dolphins. But I'm not even thinking, like I said, when somebody asked me at the top of the stream, I'm not even thinking playoffs until if we beat Miami, I'll probably do like a video talking about the playoff picture because then it at least becomes a reasonable possibility, in my opinion. Still not likely, but we got to beat Miami before I even start to think about that. Lonely Giants fan in Philly says 2 games winning streak against those City Eagles. What do you believe is the 5-year outlook on this franchise? For me to really give you a good answer for that, I need to know who the hell our GM is going to be. But I told you I think it's going to be the 5-year outlook on this franchise. It's going to rely on Joe Judge. I know a lot of fans think he's going to be fired at the end of the year. I don't. I think Joe Judge is going to determine what our 5-year outlook is. I think the Giants have faith in him. I think when they brought in Joe Judge, they thought he was going to get at least 4 or 5 years with this job, and they're not firing him after 2 years. So a lot of it is going to depend on the growth of Joe Judge. I don't think Mara wants to keep flipping head coaches, and the rumors that you've heard this past week only solidifies that even more. So I think the growth of Joe Judge is going to have a lot to do with whether or not this New York Giants team gets to where we need them to in the next 5 years. Obviously, whether or not Daniel Jones matures as a quarterback, or if we replace Daniel Jones, that player matures as a quarterback. But it ultimately all comes down to the offensive line for me. My head could blow off, but it's how I feel, and I'm always going to feel that way. Until we fix the line, our 5-year outlook sucks. Everybody always talks about weapons. Get this weapon, get that weapon, get this weapon. We've had weapons. We had Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham on the same team. People blamed Eli. The offensive line sucked. If you can't block, I don't care how many weapons you have, you're not going to have a consistent offense. Odell Beckham was great. Greatest wide receiver in terms of talent in New York Giants history. We didn't win, and we had no consistency on offense. Our offense with Odell Beckham was either an 80-yard touchdown or nothing. 3 and outs, run, get stuffed. We had no balance. We couldn't run the football because our offensive line was a complete and utter dumpster fire. So until we build up that offensive line, I'm not going to like our 5-year outlook. That needs to be fixed. Once that's fixed, I'm going to start to have a lot of faith in the long-term prospects of this football team. But obviously, a lot of it comes down to Joe Judge as well. Let's see what we got. Davey says, Chris, frame this and refer people to it that ask the same questions. There is absolutely zero chance of a quarterback change before 2023. DJ is the stopgap. I'm leaning that way myself. Do I think there's a small possibility if the right deal presented itself, you could trade him and sign a stopgap? I think it's at least remotely possible. But I'm with you, man. I'm definitely much more leaning that Jones is absolutely going to be your quarterback in 2022. And right now, until proven otherwise, I'd also agree with that statement that he's going to be a stopgap until proven otherwise. Obviously, going into next year, I'm going to hope and pray that with the improved team around him, he takes a big leap and maybe no longer I feel that way about him. But I'm with you. I think next year Jones will be the quote-unquote stopgap. I think he'll be I think he will get a 4th year with the Giants. I'm with you, Davey. Let's see what we got. James Earl Mones, what's up, man? I don't believe in the Patriot coaching management tree at all, nor should you. The Patriot coaching tree has been a complete joke. Hopefully Judge matures and becomes a good coach, but none of them have worked. I mean, Flores is starting. We all wrote off Flores because Flores actually did a really good job with the Miami Dolphins his first 2 years there. His first year there, everybody thought they were going to win like one game because they had no talent. They traded everybody away and they won like 5 games. And then last year they won 10. So Flores was going to be that first guy that really broke the mold. Yes, I know Vrabel, but he didn't coach under Belichick. He played under Belichick. Flores coached under Belichick. But the Dolphins are starting to turn the corner again, so maybe he will be that answer in terms of the guy that could be, the good coach from under Belichick. And hopefully we could say the same thing about Judge in 3 or 4 years if he's still here. But historically speaking, you should not trust anybody that's come from underneath Bill Belichick. I think Bill Belichick's the type of guy that, like, the thing that's obvious with the Patriots is they maximize their players' talents, right? Nate Solder was incredible with the Patriots. I shouldn't say incredible, but very good. Wes Welker was a Pro Bowl player with the Patriots. Danny Woodhead, those are the names I bring up all the time, but you can look at so many other players that Bill Belichick maximized the potential of. I think you could say the same thing about his coaches. I think Bill Belichick's the type of guy that knows what his coaches do best, and he gets the most out of them. But when they leave Belichick and they try to duplicate what Bill did, it doesn't work as well. So I don't blame you for not trusting anybody. Bill, it's easy for them to have success when you have a mastermind of a head coach like Bill Belichick. Let's see what we got here. And John says, there is no coaching tree from the Patriots' success starts and finishes with Belichick. Clean house, go hire Mike Bergonzi. He will bring the enemy. And maybe that's what they'll elect to do. I don't think they're going to do it. I really don't, especially after what I read from Rappaport. I didn't feel that before that. My opinion may change, though. But right now, I think Judge is going to be your coach. I think Judge is going to be your coach next year. I really believe that. I'd be moderately surprised if he wasn't. Daniel says, let's effing go. I wore my new Barkley game day jersey, and it did the magic. Thanks to my girlfriend who got it. Great first catch by that tight end, too. I love your stuff. Keep it. I appreciate that, Daniel, man. It was so much fun to be at that game, and I'd never even heard of that guy. He was our 4th-string tight end, but and obviously while you're at the game, you don't really get an opportunity to see how great of a catch it was, but that was a hell of a catch. And we only scored that touchdown, if we're being honest, because Evan Ingram got hit for the pass interference against the Eagles when he threw it to Evan Ingram. But hey, we scored a red zone touchdown, so it was nice to see, something that we don't do often. But it was a great catch. But I'm glad that you enjoyed the game, man. Let's see. And Tyler says Bryce Young Giants 2023. Where are we going to be picking? Everybody always says, let's get these quarterbacks. Let's just grab this quarterback in 2023. Let's grab Manning in 2026 or whatever. Where are we going to be picking? Because he's probably going first overall. You think we're going to be picking first overall? I don't. I hope not. So, sure, if we have the first pick and he proves to be a really good quarterback, sure. What's going on, Ryo? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Finally won in the throwback color. Yeah, I think it's the first time, right? I think it's the first time we've ever won in the color rush. Most hated Giant, Solder or Ingram? Oh man, you know what, man? As like people, I hate hating them because I think both of them are actually really good people. Nate Solder seems like a class act. Obviously, he's got the sick child at home. And Evan Ingram seems like a great guy. Great teammate, so on and so forth. But in terms of his players, it's close. It's close. Oh, man. I'd probably say Ingram, but it's really close. Really close. Recently, it's probably Solder. Let's see what we got here. But I agree. Somebody said as a football player, that wasn't the question, though. Somebody said as a football player, Ingram's clearly better. I think that someone said that. That wasn't the question. The question is who's more hated. And the reason I said that I think it's Ingram is because Ingram has cost us so many games. Not that Solder hasn't, but there's been like one individual play like 4 different times where you could say if Ingram held on to the football, if Ingram didn't fumble the football, we would win the game. But it's close. I think people forget how much Evan Ingram's hated because we haven't had an Evan Ingram moment in a little bit, even though we were this close to having one yesterday. It's closed between those two. Let's see what we got here. For the money we're paying Golladay, he should have caught that one ball in the end zone when Slay should have been called for the pass interference. 6'5", man, go up and catch the damn ball. Yeah, I didn't get to see, when I was there. It was hard. It was hard from where I was in terms of the angle, whether or not I thought it was a catchable ball. It looked like Golladay only got one hand on it, and I thought from where I was that Jones probably should have put a little bit more loft on the ball to allow Golladay to go up and grab it. But you're right. I mean, you're getting paid $18 million a year. You're getting paid to make those plays. I hate that everyone hates on Saquon. He's an elite player. Listen, I love Saquon. I freaking love Saquon. But I can't blame people anymore. I can't baby Saquon anymore. It's not entirely his fault. He's had a ton of injuries. And but he was a second overall pick. When you draft somebody second overall, people are going to have high expectations. It wasn't catch-worthy. Like I said, from where I was, it was hard for me to see. I thought from where I was, it looked like Jones should have put more loft on it. But Golladay got his hand on it. If we can't get the Michigan pass rusher, would you want a pass rusher? Would you want a next pass rusher in Detaina or go with 2-0 line? I mean, it all depends. Depends on who's there. It depends on how I feel about the other edge rushers. I don't want the Giants to. I think it's got to be one of those two positions personally, but I don't want them to force the pick. Like if they feel there's a transcendent edge rusher, you take the edge rusher. If they feel that the offensive lineman's the better prospect there, you take the lineman. But I think they got to take one of those two players with that first pick for sure in terms of position. And Robert says, "Love, I want to diminish their spirit. I heard you say that twice Sunday. A great line for a gangster movie." Yes, I did say that twice. Absolutely. Listen, man, I never hide it. I feel like a lot of times when I come on YouTube, like you'll see Eagles video makers or whatever, teams that are like rivals of other teams or like, nice to one another. No. I mean, I like you as a person, more than likely. I hate your football team. And I want nothing more than for Eagles fans to be upset after a football game. I cannot stand the Philadelphia Eagles. And another thing I can't stand personally as a fan is when fans are like, I don't hate the Eagles. I don't hate the Cowboys. What the hell are you talking about? They're the friggin' Eagles. It's our biggest rival. The color green makes me throw up on NFL Sundays. Same thing with the Dallas Star. Can't stand those franchises. Let's see what we got here. Killian, man, thank you very much. He says, ideal scenario. Round 1, interior offensive line and pass rusher. Round 2, linebacker. Round 3, running back. Running back's another potential need. I'd probably prefer round 4. The COVID boys, yeah. And DB offensive line in the draft. I think your thoughts. Sure. I mean, if they go that route, for sure. I'd probably prefer. Me. I'm probably going to prefer 2 offensive linemen with definitely within the first 3 rounds, and certainly one within the first. But yeah, I mean, if they ended up getting those positions, as long as they draft another lineman, say in the 4th round, I would not be upset with the draft at all in terms of just the positions. The M says, OGR, man, I saw you had a members chat. It doesn't pop up on here. I meant to read it earlier and I completely forgot. You didn't have to donate, man. Let me see if you sent something else in the members chat. I missed it. Sorry, man. I wish that StreamYard showed the members chats because I always forget that. That's why I pop up the YouTube chat here. So sometimes I miss it. So I apologize, guys. I don't want to miss those. The M says it never makes a difference who's available to the Giants draft. It never makes a difference who's available to the Giants draft mismanagement teams. Yeah, I mean, you hope obviously with the GM change that changes, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, yeah, I had this conversation the other day, and obviously some people are going to disagree with me, but I'm always going to say my opinion. You know that. In terms of value, we won the Beckham trade. Like, if you're the Browns, and this is how I look at it. If you're the Cleveland Browns, would you have rather have had that 1st round pick, Jabril Peppers, and the 3rd round pick, or Odell Beckham? Browns don't hesitate. The problem was the Giants did not knock those picks out of the park. So it's why I feel like neither team really won the trade. But in terms of what the Giants got, I thought that they got really good draft compensation when push came to shove, once you saw how it played out with Cleveland. And it's the same thing. The Giants in recent history have not hit on their draft picks. OGR says, earlier you mentioned punter. Look no further than Jordan Stout, Penn State. You're a huge Penn State fan. And OGR, man, glad to see you here, Jeff, man. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to tell you what, Jeff. I have not looked into him. I have not looked into any punter. But we 1,000% need to and should draft a punter in this year's draft, because we talk about cap savings. One, Riley Dixon sucks. Riley Dixon is horrible. He's making $4 million a year. You cut him and you draft a punter in the 7th round. You pay him next to nothing. So that's going to save you $3 million. And normally if you draft a punter in the draft, they're going to be good. There's only going to be, 2, 3, 4 punters that are even drafted. So I think that's something that the New York Giants definitely need to look into. Riley Dixon is horrible. So I know that's like a weird request, but I think that's something they need to do in the last round of this year's draft for sure. What's up, Jameson? Thanks for popping in. T says, is there a New York Giants chant? Yeah, of course there is. Stand up, New York Giants fans. No, there's not actually a Giants chant, but that's my Giants chant. There's not when you go to the games. Not that I know of, anyway. We should be able to beat Miami. I'm with you. I think we should be able to beat Miami as well. Obviously they've won 4 straight, but it's against the Jets, it's against the Texans, it's against the same Carolina Panthers team we destroyed. They did beat the Ravens, but I think that's clearly the game that we could win. I don't even know if I want to use the word should, but it's definitely a game we can win. Let's put it that way. I don't think that they're a team that overmatches us. Let's see what we got here. OGR says, what's good, man? Glad to see you. What's up, OGR? Michael says, are we on the tank train yet? No. And I know some fans are always on the tank train. There were fans last year that were talking about tanking for Trevor Lawrence after 2 weeks. And I made a video on that because I was like, no. And again, I never tell people how to root for their team. We're a game out of the playoffs. It might be a small possibility, but we're a game out of the playoffs. We're a team that spent a lot of money this offseason to try to improve this year. We already have 2 first-round picks. The Bears pick's more than likely going to be high to begin with. So, no, I'm not on the tank train. I'm on let's make the friggin' playoffs train. I want to win. And that's just me. I'm never going to, but I personally will never root the tank. But especially at a time like this, I would not. No. Since 1990, Giants are 7-1 against the Dolphins. I don't look too much into, once in a while I'll mention that in my videos when I do a preview, but that doesn't make much of an impact on me. Since 1990, how many different quarterbacks has each team had? You know what I'm saying? But hopefully history repeats itself. And yeah, and the other thing I'll say, I don't think any team will ever tank outside of the Philadelphia Eagles because they're the Philadelphia Eagles. But like you just said, now as fans, you could root to lose. I understand it because you're thinking about the long-term future. But a team in football is never going to actually tank. Or if they do, it's going to be very rare. Because like Doggy just said, there's jobs on the line. Head coaches, quarterbacks, players, right? Not just for the Giants, but for future potential destinations. So I don't expect the Giants to tank. Mel said after all the crap we have seen this season, 1 game out. Yeah, we're 1 game out. 1 game out. We are a Dexter Lawrence offside penalty away from being tied for the last seed in the playoffs right now. We are a Dexter Lawrence and O'Shane Ximines offside penalty away from being the 6th seed right now. Game of inches. Let's see what we got here. What's up? Let's see. Brian says, first, is it time to give Belichick the game and make him our president of football operations and GM? He is clearly an excellent talent evaluator. Why would Belichick leave the Patriots, though? Sure. I would clearly be okay with bringing Belichick here. Again, people have asked me this in the past. I don't know how successful Belichick would be if he was strictly a GM because people say he's a great talent evaluator. But part of the reason why Belichick has been such a great talent evaluator is because Belichick has coached the players he's brought in, right? Like you think about Phil Jackson. All Knicks fans were ecstatic when the Knicks got Phil Jackson, but he wasn't coaching the team. He was just making decisions. And the KP draft pick was pretty good, but overall, Phil Jackson clearly failed in terms of a decision maker. You don't know how Bill Belichick would be if he wasn't actually coaching the players that he was bringing in. But if I'm Bill Belichick, why am I leaving the Patriots? I'm 7-4. I got a good young quarterback in Mac Jones. I got a team that's starting to grow and compete. And I have an ego. Yeah, I want to be able to prove that I could win a Super Bowl without Tom Brady. So I don't see it happening. Let's see what we got here. But I know Giants fans would love that. DeGrom says, don't ever forget Jor Goat is better than Mckinney. Jor Goat. Oh, Jordan, you mean? Jordan versus LeBron? Oh, you know I'll never forget that. I mean, everybody's got their own opinions, but I have a very strong take on that. And by the way, I like LeBron a lot. I think LeBron is a fantastic basketball player. And when people bring up LeBron versus Kobe, I laugh. And I know Kobe's loved, and I know he's like the most popular player on earth, especially by the younger generation. They're not even close, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, I think LeBron might be closer to Jordan than Kobe is to LeBron. That's my personal opinion on the matter. But when it comes to LeBron versus Jordan, not close. Jordan's the greatest player ever. NYGiants26 says, don't forget that Adoree dropped the game-winning interception. He did. One, that was a pretty tough play if you go back and watch it. But Adoree Jackson, to me, has been one of the most underappreciated players on this New York Giants team this year. I think Adoree Jackson is friggin' awesome. I think he's definitely lived up to the contract. I think he's played well for the Giants this year. Of course, he had that hiccup, but overall, I think he's been our strongest corner start to finish this year. Of course, Bradbury started to play better, but I think Adoree Jackson's been really good for this team. And Irish says, Chris, enjoyed your rest stop content last night. Love the dedication to your subscribers. Go Giants, go Big Blue. Yeah, I'm looking forward to and obviously Adoree got hurt. Yeah, hopefully he plays on Sunday. I saw a lot of the comments after I did the videos. You guys seem to like the car videos. So maybe I'll do more car videos in the future. Irish. I used to do those all the time when I was in my work truck when I was a cable technician. Maybe I'll do those more in the future. You guys seem to love those, but yeah, it was fun to do those again. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. NYGiants26 says, I love Adoree this year. He stepped up. Yeah, I think Adoree has played well for us. And obviously fans are going to be on him more so than other players because of the contract that he signed. But I like Adoree. I think Adoree was a good signing, and I think he's definitely lived up to the contract. Grim says, offense has to progress for these wins to mean anything. Somebody asked me, is this what I do for a living? Partially. I do another thing. I'm not a stripper, like I say all the time, but I do something else for more, another source of income, but partially, yes. Grim Sola says, offense has to progress for these wins to mean anything. Winning games in a grind-out fashion isn't sustainable long-term. Would you rather Jones progress? Offense has to progress for these wins to mean anything. Winning games is a grind-out fashion isn't sustainable long-term. Yeah, Grim, it was a question. It was a question that I posed at the beginning of the year. It was a question that I posed at the beginning of the year. Would you rather the Giants go 7-10 and Daniel Jones have a really good year, or Daniel Jones kind of get carried to the playoffs and the defense carry us, right? And we go 10-7. And most fans said 7-10. So, yeah, I mean, obviously I want to see Daniel Jones and the offense grow over these last 6 games, but I'm never going to be upset about a win. Like, if the team wins, the team wins. I'm not in a spot right now to be able to be able to pick either one of those scenarios. So if the team wins, the team wins. I'm going to be happy. But of course, if you ask me what's more important, I would say the progression of our quarterback. But you can't have everything. Let's see what we got here. Gonna IRS you? You're gonna IRS me? Okay. I pay my taxes. I don't even know what that means. Let's see what we got here. We're not simply a defensive team. We are a bad offensive team. There's a difference. We're not simply a defensive team. We are a bad offensive team. There's a difference. Yeah, I agree. I don't hate Kobe. I don't hate Kobe at all. Kobe's great. He's just not LeBron James, in my opinion. He's great. Top 10 player ever. I don't hate Kobe. I know it's like sacrilegious if you say that Kobe's not a top 5 player to people that love Kobe, but in my opinion, he wasn't. I watched Kobe play start to finish. I watched LeBron play start to finish. I watched Jordan play probably his last 10 years or whatever. Ask yourself this. This is when people bring up LeBron versus Kobe. For me, ask yourself this. How many years when Kobe played in the NBA could you say that he was the best player on the planet? 2? 3? How many years when LeBron played could you say that he was the best player on the planet? 15? I just think LeBron was a more dominant player. He dominated his era more than Kobe Bryant. And Adaman, he says, DJ looked brilliant at the beginning of the year. He looks lost and confused now. Not sure what's responsible for the regression. The concussion, maybe. DJ looked brilliant at the beginning of the year. He looks lost and confused now. Not sure what's responsible for the regression. The concussion, maybe. I mean, I think when he looked his best, we were blocking and we were healthy, right? We didn't have a ton of injuries with the weapons at the beginning of the year. I think that certainly has something to do with it. His best game against the Saints, we were blocking. I don't think the concussion has much to do with it, to be completely honest with you. I really don't. I thought he had 2 games where he looked close to brilliant, and that was the Washington game, and I thought that was the Saints game. Asia says, stand up, my sexy Tana. She says, Chris, what do you think about Max Scherzer coming to Queens? Congratulations to you and the Giants win. All I have to say is you better not choke again when the season starts. Asia, I am pumped up. And thank you so much, Asia, for the incredible generosity. I am pumped up. I put it all over Twitter when I heard the news last night that the Mets were looking at potentially bringing Max Scherzer. How could you not be excited, right? If you're a Mets fan. I mean, we have 2 of the top 5 pitchers on the planet. And I don't want to get carried away because I always feel as a Mets fan, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. But you look at our team right now. I mean, if the Mets could even stay close to healthy, we got to be one of the favorites to go to the World Series. So I'm super pumped up. Lindor, I think he'll have a bounce back here. I think he'll have a better year. And yeah, I don't even think we're done. I think the Mets are going to sign another starter, and they may bring Baez back, I hope. But I'm super pumped up about the offseason so far for the Mets. And let's see. Let's see. I would arguably take an Iverson over. I don't know if I would go that. No, I wouldn't go that far. I would definitely take Kobe over. I loved Iverson. Iverson's one of my favorite players of all time. Pound for pound, one of the most exciting players ever. Definitely an all-time great. But no, I got to take Kobe over Iverson. I'm definitely going to be doing baseball live streams this year once the Mets are underway. Tato, what do you think of getting Derek Carr? Kind of under the radar compared to Russell Wilson, but I think Carr's a solid quarterback. I'll tell you what, and I used to not be the biggest Carr fan, and I don't get to watch every Raiders game, so I never like to just judge a quarterback strictly off of stats. But I forget what game it was. I think it might have been last week. He was on primetime. Carr impressed me. Carr looked good. I forgot who the Raiders were playing. Who did they play? It was like a primetime game. Wait, was it the Cowboys? They played the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, didn't they? I can't remember. But Carr impressed me. I was like, wow, Carr looked damn good. What do you think about getting Derek Carr kind of under the radar compared to Russell Wilson? But I think Carr's a solid quarterback. I mean, it would all depend on if the Raiders drafted a quarterback. I don't even know what Carr's contract situation is. What's his contract? I don't view Carr personally as a upper echelon quarterback. I definitely think he's a good quarterback. He's got 1 more year left on his deal after this year. So my guess would be that the Raiders more than likely, even if they wanted to draft a quarterback next year, would probably retain Carr for 1 more year. But they could trade him. It would all depend on the price for me, man. If I viewed him as a stopgap guy, it would all depend on the price. He'd probably cost too much, though, if I'm being honest, in terms of like what you'd have to give up. This year, Jones doesn't mean as much. Lamar Jackson, 4 picks. Listen, Lamar Jackson is a great football player. You'll get killed if you say this because so many people love Lamar Jackson, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson won an MVP 2 years ago. Great talent. He's not playing well this year. Could you honestly tell yourself that Lamar Jackson's playing well this year? If you look at Lamar Jackson's stats, Lamar Jackson had the greatest game of any quarterback in football this year. The greatest game. That one game that he had on primetime, he was awesome. The greatest game of any quarterback this year. If you take away that one game out of, 10 starts, Lamar Jackson has more interceptions than touchdowns. He's got 11 touchdowns and 12 interceptions outside of that one game. He's not playing well this year. Of course he's playing better than Jones. Not comparing him to Jones. Asia says, Chris, is your mom? No, she's not in the chat. You can't. All right, let's keep the game. He's got 15 touchdowns and 12 picks. Let's keep the game. Let's keep the game. Lamar Jackson is not playing great this year. Not saying he's not better than Daniel Jones. I'm just talking about him. He's not playing great this year. Let's see. Chris, what do you think of what do you think of Sims the other day? I don't know what you're referring to. DeGrom says Duncan has more wins than the Timberwolves franchise. Tim Duncan. Wow, that's an insane stat if that's true. What's the latest on Logan Ryan? I haven't heard much. I think he's back in the building. I think I heard that today. Let me see. Obviously, he had COVID this week. I think he's going to be back this week. I think I heard that. Somebody told me that. Judge didn't provide any injury updates, but he said Logan Ryan is back in the building. So my guess is Logan Ryan will be playing this week. Lamar is winning. I agree. He's better than Jones. Did he deserve that win last night, though? Like, I even said it after the game. I'm like, that's why the Ravens are a good football team. They could overcome a game in which Lamar Jackson throws 4 picks and still win. They got a great football team over there. Let's see. Chris, what do you think of? He's been climbing draft boards. I would love him on our own line. I've heard about him. I haven't looked enough into him. I'm not comparing Lamar Jackson to Jones. Somebody brought up Lamar Jackson. I just simply said he's not playing that well this year. That's all I said. I'm not comparing him to Daniel. I would never compare Lamar Jackson to Daniel Jones. Chris, what do you think about the 2 firsts this year for Russell Wilson? No, I don't want Russell Wilson. John Letourneau says, Chris, to be fair here, Eagles gave y'all the game. I mean, your quarterback stinks. So your quarterback stinks. So yes, I mean, you could certainly make that argument, but I don't care. I mean, you know how many times, John, I could say that about the Giants handing the Eagles a game? You know how many times I could say that? So I don't care. We got the win. I could point out like 6-7 games over the last 10 years where the Giants handled the Eagles the game. So I don't care. We won. That's all I care. Let's see what we got here. Why don't I want Russell? Because he's going to be 34 years old. Only reason. He's going to be 34 years old. And we're not a team that's ready to compete for a Super Bowl right now, especially if you trade away all of our draft capital. I compared it to the Jets when they traded for Brett Favre. Same thing. I don't see Russell Wilson coming here and making us a Super Bowl contender. And if he did, I think it would take at least 2 or 3 years. And at that point, he's 36, 37. So that's the only reason. Going to be at the game this Sunday, hoping for a W, so I can give it to my Dolphin friends. Go Big Blue. Also, one of the Yankees I think they're going to sign Correa. I'm almost positive. Do I like Of course I like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. He's great. I just don't think it'll work here. And John says, I agree, but congratulations, my friend. Stand up. I appreciate it, John, man. Great support of the channel. Great Eagles fan. All Giants wins came when the game starts at 1 p.m. Well, they never win on primetime. We know that. I think Russell would help immediately, but I don't want him. Of course he'd help immediately. Russell Wilson would definitely improve the team, just like Brett Favre improved the Jets. I'm curious, actually. Let me see something. I don't know this. I'm just curious to see. The question for me isn't whether or not he'd improve the team, because you're affecting your future dramatically, and so you're not going to be able to build the team for the future. If you're going to make a trade like that, the question I ask myself is, are you going to be able to win a Super Bowl? Because if you're not, it's not worth making the trade. I think the Jets with Brett Favre went 9-7. Yeah, here you go. In 2007, the Jets went 4-12. They went 4-12. They got Brett Favre. They went 9-7. They didn't make the playoffs. They didn't win a Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think Russell Wilson would improve the team. Would he help us win a Super Bowl? No. We're not winning a Super Bowl. Not in the next year or two. And if you're not going to win the next year or two, why am I bringing in a 34-year quarterback, 34-year-old quarterback, and a quarterback that's going to eat up a lot of my salary, and I'm going to have to trade away all that draft capital? So I would not do it. What's your stance on Judge? Does he get to keep his job if there was a new GM in the building? I think Judge is going to stay. I thought that before yesterday's game. I said it 2 weeks ago. I think the Giants are going to find a GM to build around Judge. I think Judge is going to stay. I think he's going to be a coach next year. And if they bring in an outsider, much like Ian Rappaport said, I think it's going to be an outsider that has some familiarity with Judge. That's my honest belief. I think Judge is going to stay. This Russell, it's not going to happen. Russell Wilson ain't coming here, man. To be honest, I don't even care about being a Super Bowl contender right now. I just want to make the playoffs. Russell Wilson, see that and again, every fan has their own thought process. For me, the worst place you could be in the NFL, in my opinion, especially if you have no future draft capital, is being a team that is either just good enough to make the playoffs or just bad enough to miss the playoffs. Because you don't get a high draft pick. And at that point, we wouldn't have draft picks anyway, because you're going to have to trade away like 3 first-round picks. If I'm trading away all that draft capital and knowing that Russell Wilson it's kind of like Saquon Barkley in a sense that when we drafted Barkley, we knew that we were going to have to be able to compete immediately because running backs have a short shelf life, right? It's the same thing with a 34-year-old quarterback. If you're trading for Russell Wilson, if I'm a GM, I have to think I could win a Super Bowl in 2 or 3 years. And if I don't feel that way, I'm not making the trade because I'm trading away my entire future to get the guy. And I have to think by 37, 38, he's going to start to tail off at least a little bit. So it's why the trade doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Katie says, what about Deshaun Watson? He makes more sense. The question obviously with Watson is the off-the-field stuff and whether or not the Giants would ever bring him in. But in terms of his age, he makes a lot more sense. So, if you just ask me from a football standpoint and I'm not factoring in the other stuff, I would take Deshaun Watson over Russell Wilson in a second because of his age. If I knew he was going to be able to play, which I think he will be, I would take him in a second. Fresh and Fit says, would you pick up Daniel Jones' 5th-year option? Yeah, I see no reason not to. What if you're going to keep? What's the reason not to? You have to come to that conclusion by before the start of next year. The 5th-year option is going to cost you what? Like, I think for Barkley it was $7 million. I don't know what it would be for Jones. It's not going to be a ridiculous amount of money. So I see no reason not to. That doesn't even necessarily mean that you have to keep him after the 5th year. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you could even cut him before the 5th year starts, and it doesn't even carry a cap hit. So I see no reason not to pick up the 5th-year option for Daniel Jones if he's going to be on this team next year. There's no reason not to. If you pick up Daniel Jones' 5th-year option, you would have to pay him $23 million. Is he worth 23? I see no reason not to. You could cut him. Like, I let me make sure of that. But if I look at Saquon Barkley's contract right now, and I don't think it'd be $23 million, but maybe I'm wrong. I haven't looked into it. If I look at Saquon Barkley's contract right now, Saquon Barkley next year on the 5th year is, I'm wrong. It does carry a dead cap hit. It's 7.2. I for some reason I thought I read that it did not, but it does. It carries a 7.2. He's getting paid $7.2 million. I'd have to look into that. I don't think it would be $23 million. $23 million, probably not. I don't think it would be $23 million, though. But I will have to look into that to give a better answer on that. If Aiden Hutchinson and Evan Neal are off the board, would you consider drafting Derek Stingley? I know it's not about need, but Brad, I mean, if I thought he was like the next elite corner, you have to consider it because it's not our biggest need, but it's still a need, and it's at a very important position. You have to at least consider it. But me personally, I'm going to want to go line. Fireside Giants to Daniel Jones, fifth-year option is $23 million. Well, you know what? I'm trying to think of a quarterback. Dak Prescott got the fifth-year option picked up, right? No, because he wasn't a first-round pick. I'm trying to think of a quarterback because only first-round picks get the fifth-year option. I'm trying to think of a quarterback that got the fifth-year option picked up because most don't. If they get a second contract, usually they get extended. Mayfield probably did, right? Did somebody in the chat let me know? Did Baker Mayfield get the fifth-year option picked up with the Cleveland Browns? Because that's how you can compare it. Mayfield was the first overall pick, though, so he's probably a little bit more money than what Jones would get because Jones is the sixth overall pick. I would imagine Mayfield got it picked up, right? So let me look at Baker Mayfield's contract. Baker Mayfield. And he was the first overall pick. So like I said, probably a little bit more than Jones would be. Mayfield is $18 million next year. $18.8 million. Granted, it was a year earlier. He was making more money, though, than Daniel Jones was because he was the first overall pick. Let me look at Daniel Jones's contract. For instance, Mayfield was making $10.5 million this year, and then he makes $18 next year. Jones next year is due to make $8.3. So I don't think it would even be 18. He's making $2.5 million less than Mayfield was in his fourth year, and then Mayfield got the fifth option and got paid 18. So that's just me guessing. I don't know. I would guess 15 or 16 for Jones. I don't think it would be 23. Not bad, thank you very much, man. Bear Dog was slightly unhinged without you yesterday. Have you checked in on him? Made sure he's still alive? I have not. Why did he oh, maybe that's what it is, Eddie. I don't know. I have to look more into it. I'd have to look more into it. Jones, if it's $23 million, I'm not giving him $23 million. Unless he improves. Again, it's very hard for me to answer that right now. But right now, no, I'm not giving him $23 million. But Nat, to go back to your question, Nat. I think you told me that in my comments yesterday. I have not checked on him. I'm gonna have to shoot him a text. I have to go back and watch the stream because people have told me that. I guess he got upset. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the stream, but hopefully he's okay, man. Hey, Chris, I still believe in Jones. Just build the line. Evan says. I agree with just build the line. What happened? What did I miss with Bad Dog? What did I miss with Bad Dog? I was at the game, so I wasn't. I don't know what happened. Can we go 8-9 to make the playoffs? I think 8-9 is going to get the seven. I think 8-9 is going to get the 7th seed because now the thing is, I don't think 8-9 is going to. I think it's going to require a tiebreaker. So I don't know how the tiebreakers are going to stack up, but just looking at the teams right now, and again, I'd have to look at every schedule, but I definitely think 8 wins is a strong possibility to get the 7th seed right now in the NFC. 9 and 8, I think is definitely going to get it. But 8 and 9, I think there's at least a 50 to 70% chance we'll probably get that last seed in the NFC. And then it'll come down to tiebreakers. I don't think 8 wins is going to get in by itself. I think there'll be multiple teams that get 8 wins. But I think there's at least a 50 to 70% chance, if I had to guess, without looking at schedules, that 8 wins probably get you that 7th seed in the NFC. Bad Dog was a screaming banshee. I had to lower the volume. I'm going to have to look at that, man. I'm going to have to look at that. Chris, go to the play where Jones takes the sack on purpose. Bad Dog had the most epic meltdown you will see on a stream. I know the play you're talking about, Arian, and I'm not trying to defend Daniel Jones, okay? I think I know the play you're talking about. And I remember I had a conversation with a guy in the stadium when that happened. And obviously you want Jones to pick up the first down, but it was actually a better decision for Jones to take the sack than to just throw the ball away. Because it made that, it wasn't that the play where it made them use their last timeout, or it made them use a timeout, right? So it was a better decision. If I'm thinking of the right play, it was a better decision for Jones to take the sack than to run out of bounds or throw the ball away. I remember having a conversation with somebody in the stadium, if I'm thinking of the right play. So I actually think it was the right play to make by Jones. Obviously, the completion is the right play, but to take the sack there was the smarter play than to just throw it away or run out of bounds. And Darian says, Judge out, too conservative, old-fashioned, Dave Gettleman out, keep Daniel Jones as the bridge quarterback. This team is not good. We aren't close to playoff caliber, bailed out by Hurts. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think Judge is going to be out, Darren. I don't. I understand where you're coming from. But I understand where you're coming from, Darren, but I don't think Judge is going to be out. But I agree with you. I think there are times where he's way too conservative, and I think that drive we're talking about is an instance of it. I'm going to disagree with you guys, though, about I think Authentic said it was a dumb play. I'm actually going to disagree with that. If I was the offensive, and I'm not defending Jones, but I think in that instance, obviously I want him picking up the first down. But here's what I'll say. If you run on that play, what was the down and distance? Tell me in the chat. It was like 3rd and 8, right? It was like 3rd and 8. It was 3rd and long. So if you run on that play, you're basically just surrendering and you're punting it away and you're making them use the last time out. You're playing ultra conservative, something we always complain about. If you tell Daniel Jones, listen, we're going to give you the option to be able to throw. If somebody is open, you throw the football and you try to pick up the first down. If nobody is open, you fall to the ground and you force them to use their last timeout. So in my opinion, that was the right decision to do that. And it is the right decision to tell your quarterback, if nobody is open in that spot, to take the sack and make the Eagles waste their last timeout. So I see no issue with that. I see an issue with not picking up the first down. Obviously, I want it as a fan. But in terms of giving Jones the option to throw the ball over just running the ball, because at that point, what's the difference of 8 yards? You're punting the ball anyway. Obviously, Riley Dixon sucks, but I would have much rather Jones had the ability to be able to throw. And if nothing's there, you take the sack and make them waste the last timeout. So I'm going to disagree with that. I'll give up the 8 yards with the ability to potentially pick up the first down rather than just running the ball and giving them the ball back. So I'm actually going to disagree with that. Let's see what we got here. Ninja says, after that game yesterday, I'm on the side to trade Saquon. After all those injuries, I think he lost his mojo. Booker's done a lot better than him. If you could get something for him, people say trade Saquon all the time, but you got to be able to get something for him. The sack rant was time versus distance. I'm gonna disagree. I think, and that was my honest reaction when I watched it. What? So you're telling me, people in the chat, you're telling me you would have rather just ran the ball and known that you were going to punt rather than at least having the opportunity to throw and pick up the first down? Because that's what you're debating. Because either way, you're super conservative in either instance. If you run the ball the way we're running the ball in that game, we run for 77 yards, I think, on like 25 carries. So you're punting in that spot. So the argument's over like 10 yards. That's what the argument's over. I'm taking the chance that Jones could find somebody open and throw and pick up the first down over losing 10 yards and being able to punt with Riley Dixon. So I don't see an issue with it. I know after the fact, people are going to say, I disagree. I think it was the right decision. Broadcast said it was the right play. Yeah, I think it was the right play. The call on what Jones did was, I think it was the right play. Chris, is there really a chance that Joe Judge will force a quarterback pick? And if so, what will your reaction be? I'm not going to flip out like I did with Daniel Jones. I'll tell you that right now. But I don't think it'll be the right decision. Do I think it's possible? Yeah, because I think that Joe, if I'm Joe Judge, because as a head coach, I think a lot of head coaches are always thinking about trying to save their job. And resetting the quarterback clock is potentially giving Joe Judge a longer leash. So do I think it's possible if Joe Judge really likes a quarterback, he could draft one? Sure. He wasn't here for Daniel Jones. So it's possible. Do I think it would be the right decision? No, I don't. I think it'd be the wrong decision. Obviously, I'm going to hope that I'm wrong if they elect to do that. But I think it would be the wrong decision. Passing it gave it two options: getting the first down by a pass or forcing a timeout. It was a no-brainer in my opinion, Fabian. I think it was the right decision. I'll debate anybody on that. I'll debate anybody on that. That was the right decision. Let's see what we got here. Oh, I'm good. I thought. Let's see. Maybe I'm naive, but I believe Joe Judge is telling the truth when he's hyping up his players and telling the media why he values them. I mean, Colin, I think part of it as a head coach is, Rex Ryan used to do that with the Jets all the time too. Remember, he developed Revis Island. He used to always prop up his players. I mean, that's what you want in a coach. You want your coach to show confidence in his players. That doesn't necessarily mean that he feels exactly what he says, right? He's not going to tell Daniel Jones that he thinks there's a better option out there. He's going to show belief in his quarterback. Let's see what we got here. Field position, Dana. Our punter was struggling. Well, to me, authentic. Here's the other thing I'm going to say. To me, authentic. How much time was left in the game? Like a minute? What's more valuable to me? The Eagles starting at their own 35, we'll say. Well, you had to assume that he was going to have a better punt than that because the punt was horrific. But let's say it's an 8-yard difference with the punt. So what's more important to me? Jalen Hurts having it at his own 35 or his own 30, we'll say, or his own 38 and having no timeouts compared to one. I'm taking the no timeouts and eight less yards to go for a touchdown because you're going to be playing prevent anyway. You're going to let them pick up a couple of first downs. You don't want to give up the big play over the top. 1,000%, I'm taking the less timeout every time. And I also would have wanted the opportunity. We talk about the Giants not being aggressive. That's a little bit of aggression there. That's not just laying down and saying we're not going to try to pick up the first down. So I see no issue with it. Let's see what we got here. If the running back fumble there was a tip bash, you guys would be bashing Judge. No, listen, there's a lot of times where you could bash Joe Judge. That's not one of them, in my opinion. Even though Joe Judge doesn't even make the play calls. Kitchen's the play caller, but you need 10 freaking yards to end the game. Then what's the argument about? I'm trying to figure where you're coming from. You think there was a higher probability that us running the ball was going to pick up the first down than having the opportunity to pass? I'm trying to understand your argument. Because I'm going to tell you right now, that is a much less probability, especially the way that we were running in that football game. So what's the argument? I'm in agreement with you. You needed 10 yards to win the game. Why not give Jones the opportunity to throw? What's the argument? Clocksman, thank you very much, man. I was 1 year early on my predictions on John Taylor. Let's see. I was 1 year early on my predictions on John Taylor running behind a true beast of the NFL. Mr. Quinton should have been a Giant. Dude, listen, Jonathan Taylor's a beast. And I know everybody's a big Quentin Nelson fan, but Jonathan Taylor's a beast, man, for that Colts team running behind that offensive line. Jonathan Taylor is basically what Saquon Barkley should have been had the New York Giants had a strong offensive line. That's what Jonathan Taylor is. And Albert says, I'd fix the O-line and linebackers before you try to reset the quarterback clock. I agree. That's what I say all the time on my channel, Albert. I think that's the appropriate approach. But passing the ball, but they didn't pass the ball, Steve. But passing the ball could cause an incompletion to clock stoppage. Eagles would have saved it. But that's why he didn't throw. I'm not in the huddle. But basically, my assumption would be in that situation, the Giants said, Daniel Jones, we're going to call up a play. And if the guy is running wide open, we want you to throw to try to win the game. If he's not, you take the sack, and it's essentially just running the ball. I agree with that strategy. Let's see. Darian says, a good team wouldn't run 3 times, no trust in the offense. Well, they didn't. They tried to throw on 3rd down, but nobody was open, so he took the sack. But I agree with you, Darian, by the way. I would have shown a little bit more aggression on that drive. That I agree with. That I will agree with for sure. I probably would have thrown on second down. I would have tried to pick up the first down to end the game on second down. That I'll agree with. The third down decision I have no issue with. And as a matter of fact, that is exactly what I would have done if I was a play caller in that situation. I would have wanted my quarterback to have the opportunity if there was somebody running wide open to throw the ball and pick up the first down. And if nobody was open, I would have told him, take the sack. Don't run out of bounds. Take the sack. The timeout's more important. So I completely agree with the third down decision. The second down decision, I probably would have thrown the football. And Darian says it was similar to the Washington football game, and we bashed Jason Garrett. Yeah, I like I said, I would have same thing in that game. I would have thrown on second down. So that aspect I agree with. I thought that the conversation was about the third down play call. The third down play call I have no issue with whatsoever. And Nate says, y'all were a better team yesterday. We will see y'all in Philly in a few weeks. Much respect, FEF. You know I can't say that slogan on my channel. But Nate, man, I appreciate you for popping in, man, being a good sport about it. I'll be the first to say I'm obnoxious. I don't hide it. I hate your football team, but I appreciate the support. And I think that's part of what makes being a fan fun, man. I think our rivalry is one of the best in football, at least in my opinion. And it seems like Eagles fans don't hate the Giants quite as much as the Giants hate the Eagles, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you guys are always find a way to beat us, and maybe you guys will start to hate us a lot more if we keep beating you guys. But I'm looking forward to playing you guys again, man. Maybe I'll go to the link. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Let's see. Chris, how would you feel if we got Tyler Linderbaum and I would be in heaven? To me, the play calling was less predictable yesterday. Yeah, the couple I said in my post-game video, Delia, a couple things that stood out to me a couple things I liked. It just looked like there were guys running open more so than under Jason Garrett, specifically with the crossing patterns. So I'll say that it's far from like a finished product, though. They definitely have a lot to work on, but there were some things that I liked in the offense. Overall, still very bad, but hopefully it gets better. Steve says 6 more games, we winning most of them. Got to win at least 4 to have any chance of making the playoffs. I think he did good due to the fact that we had a new OC. I don't think you can say the offense did good. But I think what I'm going to say is I'm going to give them more time than 1 game with a new play caller and without their second and third best weapons to see if they can improve. But definitely not a huge improvement offensively in terms of production. Playoffs? Definitely a lot more multiple tight end sets, Doggy. At the game, every play, and anybody that was at the game could attest to this. They said eligible receiver, Matt Parrott. They kept bringing in, and they were obviously limited with their tight ends, but they had max protection the entire game, which is probably why Jones only got sacked 1 time, but also probably why they didn't have a lot of big plays because they didn't have a lot of wide receivers running routes. But yeah, they had a lot of 2 tight end sets and a lot of max protection for sure. Chris, what do you think about yeah, somebody asked me that at the top. I think Jai did. I mean, I can't disagree with the decision. Listen, I like Kemba. I want to root for Kemba. He's a New York guy, not producing. So I think it was the right decision. It sucks. I know a lot of Knicks fans are rooting for him, but I think it's the right decision. Who knows in terms of how the minutes are going to be distributed, but he said that Kemba's completely out of the rotation. So he hasn't been good, man. Smart that we wore road jerseys at home against Philly. We should be wearing our blue in Philly on a cold day. I was surprised by that, Tashima, when and that's my favorite jersey. But I was surprised by that when I saw the Giants were wearing the color rush jerseys yesterday. I love the jersey. Oh, no, I hate y'all just as much, but it's all good. I love the rivalry. Yeah, I think that's part of what's fun about being a fan, man, is our hatred for one another. I'd like to see Grimes get some minutes, Mark. And I'll be calling the game tomorrow, by the way. I didn't call like the last 3 Knicks games because it was Thanksgiving. Then I had my brother's wedding the day after Thanksgiving. And then I think I went to a movie on Tuesday with my brother leading up into Thanksgiving. So that's why I've missed the last 3 Knicks games. But I'll be live doing the Knicks game tomorrow. I know sometimes you ask me about that. Only reason Evans is better than Odell is because of injuries. Who are you talking about? Mike Evans? I mean, also Tom Brady doesn't hurt. Mike Evans is really good, though. Just he's a different type of receiver. Mike Evans is more like Kenny Golladay, like that type of receiver. I'm still not big on the all white. Those pants need to go some kind of color. I don't know. I love the all white. I love the all white. That's my favorite uniform. Maybe the pants are a little bit overkill. Nick says the Mets offseason is going quite well. Oh, dude. I might have to make a video on the Mets maybe tomorrow. I'm not going to do a live stream, but I might make a video talking about all the moves they've made. I'm excited, man. I can't wait to call Mets games again. I love doing those. I don't, do every game because they're like 4 hours, but I'm a huge Mets fan, and this offseason has been awesome so far. Tana, did you spill your beer? I had already finished my beer at that point. Raekwon says, maybe soon, Raekwon. It's actually I did the speech for my brother because I was the best man. It was the second time my brother's been married before me because technically it was their second wedding because they got married last year, but because of COVID, they couldn't have the reception, the party. So they did that this year. And let's see. They had the blue pants in the 70s. They're hideous. No, I didn't do a victory shot. I only do those for YouTube. Jesus, it's a bit late to be complaining about Beckham, isn't it? Color Rush uniforms suck. You don't like the Color Rush uniforms, Jeff? I like the Color Rush uniforms. But you're never going to hear me complain about Beckham. I remember when Barkley would kill the Eagles every time, his first year, but he killed everybody. Well, I shouldn't say that. Barkley, the second half that year, Barkley was insane. When we got Jamon Brown and the offensive line started to click. But the Eagles specifically, he destroyed that year. And I remember the Jaguars game, he had a couple of huge runs, the first game of the year. But the Eagles, yeah, you're absolutely. My favorite play, Saquon Barkley, I'd have to think about it. But one play that I always go back and look at with Saquon Barkley with the Giants that I'm like, oh my God, like my mouth just drops, was the screen pass against the Eagles. He didn't score a touchdown. He went like 60 yards. And he threw a linebacker off his back. He juked 3 defenders out. To me, that was probably the best Saquon Barkley play I've seen. The Deuces touchdown was great as well against the Eagles. And Jova, man, he says, I wanted Donald in the OBJ draft. Talk about a miss. I think it was a home game. I can't remember. I think it was. I think it was the Thursday night game. As far as Aaron Donald, listen, OBJ, you can't complain about the OBJ pick, right? I mean, if you're being honest, you could argue that it wasn't the best player to take, but you can't. I mean, the guy's an elite wide receiver. The guy was the most talented receiver in Giants history. But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you the guy I wanted on draft night. It was neither one of them on draft night. I wasn't upset when we took Odell Beckham, but I obviously I liked Aaron Donald as well. But the guy I wanted was the guy the Cowboys took. I wanted Zach Martin. And as crazy as it may sound, Donald and Martin may have both been the better pick. But, obviously you can't complain about the Beckham pick. But I wanted Zach Martin. Let's see what we got here. Wish you were on YouTube during Saquon's rookie year. I think I was, Darian, but I don't think I did. I don't think I did play-by-play for every game. It was kind of like mid-season I got into it. But I think I was on YouTube. I hate OBJ, but I can't complain about the Giants pick. Yeah, exactly. I wanted Zach Martin. But it was obviously a good pick. My favorite game for Saquon was against the Lions. The Washington game was awesome too, but that was the game where Jones threw 5 touchdowns. Did the Yankees lose their wallet? I don't think the Yankees lost their wallet. I just think the Yankees are what the Yankees have been since George Steinbrenner got replaced as the owner. His sons have been very, I guess, particular, and they have, outside of that one off season, I think in 2009, where they signed, who did they sign that year? I think they signed 3 huge free agents. I can't remember. I think Sabathia was one of them. Maybe I can't remember, but maybe Teixeira. I think that was the same offseason with Teixeira. But they have not been super aggressive. But I still think the Yankees are going to get Correa. Do you remember the play when Saquon was jumping over people and got like 9 yards? Well, obviously, the signature play for Saquon also that you always see the picture for is against the Bears, right? And the Bears game was definitely one of his 2 or 3 best individual games also. Like that was a game where you literally could have said, yeah, Saquon won us that game. The Bears game, the game where he catapulted over the defender, the game where we almost gave it away. Remember the onside kick at the end where Odell Beckham should have dove for the ball and he didn't. But yeah, that's definitely one of his 2 or 3 best games. Sang says Yankees are more worried about money than they are about winning. It's depressing. Welcome to my world as a Mets fan. It's nice to finally have an owner that cares more about winning. Giants 8-9 sneak into the playoffs. Let me take a quick look at the I know the standings right now, but let me take a quick look at the schedules for the teams that are 8-9 right now. And I'll tell you. Let's see. The Vikings are obviously 5. You got the Vikings, you got the Falcons, you got the Saints are all 5-6. So this is the Vikings remaining schedule. The Vikings play at Detroit. I'm going to give them a win. Pittsburgh at Chicago. I'll give them a split between Pittsburgh and Chicago. So that's now 7 wins. I'm going to give them a loss against the Rams. I'm going to give them a loss against the Rams. I'm going to give them a loss at Green Bay. And I'm going to have them beaten Chicago. So I'm going to have the Vikings getting 8 wins. And I don't know what the tiebreaker would be because I don't think we didn't play them. Let me see who else. Falcons. They obviously own the tiebreaker on us, so we cannot tie with them because they beat us heads up. Tampa Bay's a loss. At Carolina, at San Fran, I'll give them a split. That's 1 win. Detroit's 2 wins. At Buffalo, loss. New Orleans. I'm going to have them at either 7 or 8 wins. If the Giants are going to make it at 8, they need the Falcons to win 7. So I could see 7 or 8 wins for the Falcons. Don't see more than that. And who's the last 5-6 team? The Saints. Saints are playing the Cowboys this week. Maybe a game where you're actually rooting for the Cowboys if you want to have any chance at the playoffs. I think the Cowboys will beat them. I think they'll lose to the Jets. I think they'll beat the Jets. I think they'll lose to Tampa. I'll give them I see the Saints getting 8 wins. But we beat the Saints, so we own the tiebreaker against them. So if the Giants are going to get in with 8 wins, I think it comes down to tiebreakers. I don't think they'll get in by himself, but I think there's a chance they could get in with tiebreakers at 8 wins. If they ever won 8 wins. Got 8 wins. And Skeptic says Giants should beat the next few teams. Defense needs to show up and offense needs to be present. I never want to use the word should, especially with the way our offense looked this week. Like, I'm not going to go and saying we definitely should win this game. I think it's definitely a game we could win against Miami, and I'm going to pick us to beat Miami. But I'm not taking them for granted. The Chargers are going to be tough, but the Chargers have not been super hot as of late. If the Giants are going to have any chance, the games they absolutely need to win are Miami, Chicago, Philly again, and Washington. Those 4 games they have to win. That would get them 8 wins. And if they're ever able to pick off either the Cowboys or the Chargers, it would either get them 9 or maybe make up for if they were to lose to one of those teams. But those are the 4 games that I look at and I'm like, I think we could win those games. And those are the games I think they need to win. It's true, Skeptic, especially down the stretch. Washington already beat us, and they got the Seahawks tonight and the Raiders next. Tonight, I think you're rooting for the Seahawks. Well, I mean, outside of the fact that Washington's a rival of ours, but in terms of the playoffs, to have any small chance, I think you're rooting for the Seahawks to beat Washington. Even though you still got to, in the back of your head, say to yourself, Russell Wilson. But I'm assuming the Seahawks schedule's tough because they play in the West, and I don't see them turning around, even if they got the 4-7. But let me take a quick look at their schedule. Because Wilson's been out for a lot this year. Actually, they play At Houston, that's a win. They play Detroit, that's a win. If they were to beat Washington tonight, that's 7 wins. Then you got San Fran home, could go either way. At the ramp, I don't know. I part of me is like, maybe you should root for the Washington because we play Washington. I don't know. It could go either way for me. Hate Dana. Kemmer's out for the starters. The Knicks don't. I think it's the good decision. I think it's the right decision. I'm anxious to see what Kitchens does with Tony. Yeah. I think when I looked into what Kitchens did with the Browns, the 2 players that jumped off the page for me in terms of having the most benefit from what he may bring to the team were Barkley and Tony. It's the quick slants over the middle. I think Tony could really benefit from the change in the play caller, but we'll see. But those were the 2 players that jumped off for me. The other thing I'll say in the game yesterday that I saw, it seemed like there were more slant patterns in like especially with Golladay on that last drive in like the 15 to 20 yard area. It seemed like they were trying to attack the middle of the field a little bit more. Giants commenter says Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback. Okay. Tuto says, ciao, Chris. Drop by your office to pay our proper respects. And for all the Giants fans around the world, crush the stinky Eagle fans, losers on the floor. What's going on, Tuto, man? Glad to see you, buddy. I know you were as excited as anybody. You hate the Eagles. We're going to wrap this up in like 12 minutes. But I just wanted to go live today and talk some Giants football with you because I couldn't go live yesterday because I was at the game. Always have a blast talking with you guys. I'll be live tomorrow talking doing the Knicks game. And I'll probably have a video up tomorrow as well talking about a couple things with the Giants. I want to talk about that article that came out regarding Judge and Garrett and a couple other things I want to talk about as well. I'll probably have hopefully a 15 to 20 minute video for you guys tomorrow about the Giants. Is Booker looking better than Barkley? Maybe. I don't think it makes much of a difference. But here's what I'll say. Barkley's not looking good enough. Let's put it that way. But for the people that are saying Booker's looking great, like, what are you basing that off of? Booker, let me look at his stats before I say this. Booker had one good game, and it was against, like, the worst run defense in football. Let me see. Against the Raiders, right? He had the 99-yard game. But outside of that, I mean, the Raiders run defense is literally pathetic. Take a look at it. Raiders team stats. Yeah. So Booker had 99 yards in that game on 21 carries. Before that, 15 carries, 60 yards, 14 carries, 51 yards, 3.6 yards a carry. Against the Rams, 12 for 41, 3.4 yards a carry. Against the Cowboys, 16 for 42, 2.6 yards a carry. And you look at the Raiders team stats this year. I mean, the Raiders against the run, they are where is it? They are 25th against the run. They've surrendered 1,385 yards on the ground. They're giving up 4.4 yards a carry, which is 21st in the league. And you look at the teams they've played as of late, defensively, past week they actually did a pretty good job against the Cowboys against the run. But they've given up over 100 yards in every game except for 3 this year on the ground. So outside of one game against a horrible run defense with the Raiders, like, it's not like Booker's done much. So I don't know if I'm going to say he's better, but Barkley's not doing enough. Let's put it that way. Giants commenter. We're going to have to this guy's just coming on to troll. I'm going to have to block this dude. He's just coming on to piss me off. He's banned. Hard to look good when Nate Solder allows a tackle for a loss on a run to the up. He sucks, man. Probably a salty Eagles fan. Or probably a Madden player. One or the other. Tony gets his first touchdown next week. I hope so. I hope Golladay gets his first touchdown next week. Neither one of them seen a touchdown this year. Strider says, by the way, Chris, you see my haircut? I got a hat on. Is it I guess it's a good haircut. I don't know. I had to cut it short for the wedding. I was like, I hadn't gotten my haircut in like a couple of months. I grew it out, but I had to get it cut for the wedding. But I appreciate it, man. The thing that stuck out to me about Kitchens was the back shoulder fade passes to Golladay. Yeah, they It looked like they were trying to feature Golladay a lot more in this game for sure. That I could say for sure. And Authentic says, looking fresh. I appreciate that, Authentic. Chris Tyler says, the Moss. And Tudo says, New York Giants secondary NDBs won the game yesterday. Facts. More on Joe Judge was saying afterwards what we did, this and that, all baloney. Oh, for sure the defense won the game. And it's not even a debate. Our special team, the punter was horrible. Our offense was bad. I can't even say it was okay. No, it was bad. The offense was bad. We were clearly carried by the defense, and even the defense had holes in it. As crazy as that may sound for a game in which we only gave up 7 points, you think back to it, Jalen Hurts threw 2 red zone interceptions, right? He threw an interception on the 2-yard line, and I think he threw an interception on like the 20. So the Eagles easily could have had over 20 points in that game, and they dropped the touchdown at the end, but the defense did the job, man. They were opportunistic. They created turnovers, and that's all you could ask. That's what I expected out of this defense this year. But I won't say it was a flawless performance, but it was definitely a very strong defensive effort. Do you have any updates on Adoree? Yeah, Gano missed the field goal as well, James, for sure. And I'm curious because I wasn't in the live stream with you guys. As far as Adoree goes, I don't. I'll take a quick look, see if there's anything new on Adoree Jackson. I know he got hurt in the game. I'm curious to get your guys' opinion on this. I don't see anything updated on Adoree Jackson. Latest tweets I saw was from a day ago, so I haven't heard much. I'm sure we'll get information on that. But I'm curious to hear your guys' take on this about the about that decision when they kicked the field goal. In the stands, I said I thought they should have went for it. I think it was like a 4th and 2, maybe a 4th and 3, but it was like a 54-yarder or 53-yarder. I would have went for it. I understood not going for it, especially with the way that Hurts was playing, and it's not like the Eagles' offense was carving us up. I think I would have went for it there. I don't think I would have attempted the long field goal. I think I would have went for it. I understood. That was a situation where I understood both. Like, I didn't kill Judge for not going for it, but I think I would have went for it. It was still early in the game. I would have gone for it. I think I would have. Again, I think there are times this year where I thought it was a no-brainer to go for it. I don't think that was one of those instances. Like, I forgot what game it was. There was a game where I think it would have been like a 4th and 1 from like the 32. I forgot who we were playing. But to me, that was like a no-doubter. I didn't feel that way with this one, but I would have went for it. Tudo says, more on Joe Judge was trying to get all the credit afterwards, but it was Coach Graham with a banged-up D and Coach Graham's Patrick Graham, and I rode Graham at the beginning of the year because he was not doing a good job. The first 3-4 weeks, defense was not making good adjustments at halftime. Defense was not coming out with great game plans. But the last 6-7 weeks, Patrick Graham has been phenomenal. And I'm going to tell you what, man, I would not be shocked at all, and I hope this doesn't happen, if we lose Patrick Graham. Because if I'm Patrick Graham, this would now be 2 years, if this defense continues to play the way they're playing, where he has an opportunity to go out there and at least interview for a head coaching job, right? If I'm him, you don't know where this team is going. You may not have another opportunity to do something like that. If this defense keeps playing well, and I would hate to see it happen because I love Patrick Graham, we might lose Patrick Graham. And I know that he has said that I know that he has said that this is his dream job and he loves working with Joe Judge. At the end of the day, every coach's goal is to become a head coach eventually. So we'll see. But I hope it doesn't happen because I love Patrick Graham. He's done a great job. And Kent, man, thank you very much. Stand up, new member. Welcome to the squad, man. But I thought we were going to lose him last year, to be honest with you. Chris, if our offense played like our D, we would be stars, for sure. If our offense, our defense, I'm curious to look at our defensive stats, actually, right now. Let me take a quick look. I always like to look at the updated stats every week. New York Giants defense. Now, the yards were not super impressive, but it's been the turnovers created. It's been the red zone defense. Yeah, yards and points were bad. and we started off really bad. We're actually 27th in the NFL in yards against, and we're 16th in points against. But where this team has really started to play a lot better is the turnovers. And that's what I thought they were. If you watch my channel at the beginning of the year, I even said in my post-game video yesterday, that's where this defense is going to excel. We are now 6th in the NFL in turnovers created. We've created the 6th most turnovers in football. And when you factor in, we've created 19 turnovers. We're +5 now in that department. Over the first 4 games, we only created 4 turnovers. We've created 15 in the last 7. So that, to me, has been the major difference with this defense. And the red zone defense is playing well. We're 8th in the league in red zone defense. But the turnovers is what's keeping this defense afloat right now. It's not that we've definitely been giving up yards. We've definitely been giving up points. But it's been the turnovers. We've been able to create extra possessions. Yeah, we definitely need more sacks for sure. I mean, Philly was running the ball down our throats. To me, Boston Scott needs a chance to be a featured back. He could be a poor man's. If Boston Scott played the Giants every game, he'd be the best running back in the league. 7 of his career touchdowns out of 11 have come against the Giants. So whenever he plays us, he's great. Yuri says, our dream O-line, Thomas Gates, Linderbaum, Isaiah Wilson, Neal. I don't know much about, I mean, I know about Wilson. I remember I would have been okay with the Giants drafting him in the second round the year we took Thomas out of Georgia. But I don't know what Wilson's going to be. The guy came in overweight. Hopefully he turns out to be something good. I don't know if I would label him my dream, but maybe he works out to be something good, and maybe he gets an opportunity to play that guard before the end of the year. We'll see. If we get Linderbaum, I'm going to be going crazy. But yeah, if you get Evan Neal and Linderbaum, I'll be going nuts on draft night. I'll be going friggin' nuts. Our best drives were when Kenny G was getting targets. Yeah, I mean, well, that the one drive where he was getting a lot of targets was I think that was the drive where we went up by 6 points, wasn't it? Where we kicked the field goal. He made the 2 big catches over the middle. We need to do a better job of getting Golladay involved, and this was a step in the right direction, but we need to do a better job of getting him involved, getting him more targets. Oh yeah, you're talking about Darren Sproles, Steve, right? Darren Sproles used to kill us. Well, Sproles was also with the Saints, but he was with the Eagles for a bit. The Eagles have always had like a scat back. Like LaShawn McCoy was a full running back, but he was definitely used a lot in the passing game. Same thing with Brian Westbrook. They've always had running backs like that. I'm sorry. I like an aggressive defense. The whole team's too conservative for me. Play too much zone. He chose to play man at the wrong time. The D well, that's part of the problem, Tariq, is just that. Like, I'm with you. Like, if we had the edge rushers and the personnel, I'm with you. I want to be aggressive. I want to be able to get after the quarterback. I think Graham's trying to play to the strengths of his defense. He knows he doesn't have great edge rushers, and he knows his best chance is to try to create some turnovers. So that's why he plays as much zone as he does. And when it works, it looks great. And when it doesn't, people complain. But I think he's playing to the strength of his football team. I expected this to be a more aggressive defense this year, though, and it hasn't been. The first week we were, and it didn't work against the Broncos. We blitzed a lot, and he played a lot of man press. But overall, we've been a passive defense. But I think it's because, and I think Graham's right, that's our best chance defensively because we don't have great edge rushers. Tudo says, this New York Giants team ain't far from an elite team. Big fat Getty got to go, build a solid O-line, and get rid of all the garbage high-paid players. That's the problem, though, Tudo. It's hard to get rid of garbage, overpaid players. I don't know what players you're referring to, but if you're talking about Kenny Golladay, I don't think anybody's taking that contract. If you're talking about Leonard Williams, who I don't think is garbage, but he makes a lot of money, I don't think anybody's going to sign up to take that contract. So it's going to be hard to get rid of players with big contracts. Yeah, I reached out to him when I first started on YouTube. Maybe I will reach out to him again. He actually has an agent. You got to actually reach out to his agent, but it didn't work out. But that was like 3 years ago. Maybe I will. I think that guy's hilarious. We just need to swap out most of our roster, and we will be great. We'll see. DJ says Daniel Jones sucks. Needs a stopgap quarterback. Yeah, but here's the thing for like people that are like begging for a stopgap quarterback. Like I understand the reasoning for trading Jones if you could get draft capital, but if you're bringing a stopgap quarterback, it's not like we're going to win. That's what a stopgap quarterback is. He's a quarterback that you bring in to man the fort until you find your next quarterback because you don't feel your team's equipped to be able to build up a young quarterback via the draft. So it's not like if we bring in Teddy Bridgewater, if we bring in insert quarterback here, similar to what like Washington did with Ryan Fitzpatrick this year or whatever. It's not like we're going to be a great football team. There's a reason those guys are stopgap quarterbacks. It's because they're good enough to start, but they're not good enough to win a Super Bowl. They're not good enough to compete to win a Super Bowl. And that's what Denver is doing. You're bringing a guy like that until you're ready to draft your next quarterback. So it's not like if we bring in one of these stopgap quarterbacks, the Giants are going to be this great football team. And Jack says, let's get Jimmy G. He's a guy I said at the beginning of the year, Jack, that if the Giants went that route, because if people asked me at the beginning of the year, what are the Giants going to do if they do elect to bring in a stopgap quarterback? If Judge is still with the team and we still have the same coaching staff, if you ask me right now, say you asked me, say you went to me, Chris, the Giants are trading Daniel Jones, which I don't think they're going to do. But if you came to me and said that, and you said, which stopgap quarterback do you think they'll try to bring in? Without hesitation, I would say Jimmy Garoppolo. And if you ask me why, well, it's obvious. If Joe Judge is still here, all you got to do is do some research. Go back and look at what Jimmy Garoppolo had to say about Jerry Shoplinski. Go back and look at what Jimmy Garoppolo had to say about Joe Judge. He played for both of them in New England. And both Joe Judge and Jerry Shoplinski, the Giants quarterback coach, said nothing but great things about Garoppolo. The connection from New England. If the Giants were ever going to bring in a stopgap quarterback, if you ask me who I think is the most logical guy that they bring in, that would be my answer. Let's see. I'm not saying I'm in love with that, but if you're asking me who do I think they'd bring in if they traded DJ, that would be my pick as to who I think they'd bring in for a stopgap. DJ says we need Russell Wilson and Watson. Not going to happen. I mean, maybe, but I'm not banking on that. I'm not banking on that. Wilson's going to be 34, and I don't know. I don't think the Giants would trade for Watson because of the history, but maybe I'm wrong. The Giants. We know the Giants. They're not the type of team that's going to go out there and look to bring in players like that. But maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe they will. I don't know. I'd be more open to Watson if the character concerns were not viewed as an issue and they felt – because he's young. So, but I don't think they'll do that. If Harbaugh wanted complete control, would you give it to him? No, I would not. And I like Harbaugh, by the way. I actually like Harbaugh a lot. He's crazy, though. But I would not. Harbaugh in the past has shown that that's the only way I think Harbaugh would probably take a job, though, if you're being honest with yourself. Because Harbaugh got thrown off the San Francisco 49ers because he couldn't get along with the field office at all. Even though the 49ers, he did a great job revitalizing that franchise. But him and the owner and the front office couldn't get along. But for me, I don't know, man. I'm always a guy that wants a general manager and a head coach to be separate. I want my coach to have input, but I don't think I'd want to give Jim Harbaugh full say in terms of the decision making. And Tudo says, my father is one of the biggest rugby coaches in the world, and he gave a C- to the 2 New York Giants drafts off-season signing. He was right. Forget about it. Well, free agency, he was certainly right. At least so far, that's the way it looks. The Kyle Rudolph signing, not great. The Booker signing, okay. Galladay obviously doesn't look good right now, so he was certainly right this year with the free agency. Honestly, I would try to get Gardner Minshew. Well, Minshew is still in Minshew's still in the contract, right? And I don't see the Eagles trading him to the Giants. Jova says, do you think Derek Carr minus the contract could be our stopgap quarterback, a la Kerry Collins? It's funny. Somebody brought up Derek Carr earlier, and I didn't say it when they wrote it. But that was the first guy I thought of because I think that's like a perfect comparison outside of the fact that Kerry Collins was an alcoholic. which is the only reason he became available, and the Giants didn't have to give up anything to get him. But that's like the type of level of quarterback. You can't compare stats, but like where I viewed Kerry Collins in the league at the time, it's kind of where I'd have Carr. Like Collins to me was like between 10 and 15 at the quarterback position is kind of where I'd have Carr. So, yeah, I think that's not in terms of their style of play, but in terms of where they rank in the league for me, that's kind of where I would have Derek Carr, kind of where Kerry Collins was when the Giants brought him in. But obviously with Carr, you'd have to trade away draft picks. You'd have to trade away pretty good draft picks, I would imagine. He's a good quarterback. Yeah, get Jimmy G. Kerry Collins to me. Here's what I'll say about Kerry Collins and that offense in general. Kerry Collins was a good quarterback for the Giants. I'm not going to say he was great. He was a good quarterback for the Giants. But the one thing, and I'd have to go back and look at the stats, but the one thing that I always felt while watching that Giants offense, they were great from 20 to 20. Every drive they moved the ball, whether it was Tiki Barber, Amani Toomer, whoever, they always moved the ball, which is why Kerry Collins' yardage totals were always high. He always threw for like 4,000 yards back when quarterbacks were not throwing for 4,000 yards, or at least close to 4,000 yards for those couple of years. But we didn't punch it in the end zone more often than not. I feel like we were not great in the red zone, but we moved the ball very well. But I like Kerry Collins. He was a good quarterback. When Watson was playing with a terrible team, he was a top 5. Watson's great. Watson's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. I think Barkley had the best upside running back potential in the league. He still might if he's healthy. He ain't going to have it here, though, because we can't block. You put Saquon Barkley on the Colts, he's fine. You put Saquon Barkley on the Browns, he's fine. We can't block. Kerry Collins had a really good arm. Kerry Collins was – I love Kerry Collins. I can talk. I love – that Giants team, D'Elia, was like the first Giants team that like I fell in love with. Like that, you know, obviously when you're a kid, you're a Giants fan, but that's what, like when I really got into the Giants, I was like 13 to 16 in that area with those teams. And Kerry Collins, and I love that team. That 2000 team is one of my favorite teams of all time. But yeah, Kerry Collins was good, man. Tudo says, if you need to build a championship NFL team, you will need an elite quarterback, and DJ ain't the one. Facts. Many did this and no main course. Tudo, I can't argue with that right now. Do I think I don't think Jones is going to be the guy, if I'm being completely honest, at least the way I feel right now, that is going to be a guy worthy of a second contract. And the best way to win in the NFL in terms of a Super Bowl is on a rookie deal. Do I think like if Jones was set up like Jared Goff on a rookie deal, he could make a Super Bowl? Maybe. With the Rams. Do I think if Jones was set up like Jimmy Garoppolo on a rookie contract with that great team with the San Francisco 49ers? Maybe. But long term, do I think Jones is going to be a guy that you could pay 15% of the cap? I'm leaning no. I got to be honest. But anyway, I am going to close this out. I went a little later than I wanted to. I really enjoyed talking with you guys, and always love talking Giants football with you guys. I should have a video up tomorrow talking about the Giants. Really wanted to talk about that. I thought it was an interesting article that came out about Garrett and Judge that really hits home with like the problems that I think we have with this organization, with the owner, with Mara. So I'll probably talk about that. I'm sure there's going to be some other topics I want to talk about, and I'll be live for the Knicks tomorrow as well. So appreciate all you guys. Do you think Barkley will be back next season? Yes, because I don't think we're going to be able to trade him. And so, yes, I think he will be back. Release Nate. We're definitely releasing Nate Solder. No doubt about that. What's up, Kenji? Any quarterback talk? Mute Jones. Good to see you too, Elvis, man. Jones, our guy. If not all quarterbacks need an O-line. We'll see, Kenji. But I'm definitely leaning that Jones is going to be back next year. I'll say that right now. But, guys, be good. Talk to you guys soon. As always, if you like what you watch, please subscribe, drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers. Be good, guys.